Make sure we follow community guidelines. Here at Richie's Out of Order Cigars, all of our citizens, all of our global citizens must comply with community guidelines. I don't know what community they're talking. I don't live in a community. I live in the United States of America, and we got freedom of speech. But you don't have freedom of speech at YouTube. Here at YouTube, it's a community. When I hear community, unless if you're at an old folks' home, it sounds like you're in communist China. When we fly weather balloons over your house, you're in the community. How about that? How about that? Is those weather balloons flying above your community? How's that going? Are the weather balloons over the community? Weather balloons over the community. What's up, gentlemen? Weather balloons over the community. Weather balloons over the community. And unity, me and you, community. Turn in all of your guns in the community. You can't be free in the community. You don't need arms in the community. You got legs in the community. Community, community. What's up? What's up? What's up? We got Brian in the house. In the community. We're in the community. It's ridiculous. What's the weather like in the community? Let's go live to the Chinese weather balloon. Oh, weather's pretty good up here. You want DVD? You know who was flying over my house in that weather balloon? Notorious. That was DVD guy. All those DVDs, he bought that weather balloon. No, big firm, I'm telling you. That was the DVD guy. You want DVD? You want weather balloon? It's on bottom. It's good for you. Weather balloon on bottom. It's good for you. Weather balloon on bottom. It's good for you. You want girlfriend? 3,000. You want weather balloon? 10,000. No problem. It's got Blu-ray features. Good. It's good for you. Of course, bro. That's without a shadow of a doubt. That 10th anniversary, Florida Antilles. If that's not at least 4 times better, then what are we paying $40 for? Yeah. You know what I'm saying, though? I mean, holy cow. In the community. So, Brian, I sent you the link. I sent Brian the link. Now, Brian, we go way back to old Facebook cigar channels, going way back in the day. And we met, actually, well, I'll wait for him to come on the show if he comes on. I know I said I was going to try to come on about an hour and 20 minutes ago, but I had guests over my house. My common law wife, my brother-in-law was over in the community, and so I don't want to be rude, and the Italian in me is Italian in you, and so we were bullshitting, having a good time, and talking about the community. You can't have unity without the community. So yeah, bro. You got to make sure you guys take care of the community. No cursing in the community. But have you guys seen Sam Smith's new music video? Oh, I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen Sam Smith's new music video, wow, it was just enchanting. In the community, it was fantastic. What just happened there? What happened there, Brian? I clicked the button. Did we lose you? Are we connecting? In the community. Are you there? Hey, what's up, bro?
What's up,
Hey, you
buddy?
got a good connection?
Yeah,
How you feeling, all right?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Hey, are you out there in the community?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, dude, I don't know if you were there for the live. It was a while ago, maybe like 2 months ago. And, Sacco, the great flexer on our show, he was just showing some of his hunting rifles, that he goes to the range with. And as soon as he showed them, like, he put a few on the kitchen table, they shut down my live for community standards. Oh, we got a bad connection? Well, we can't. You got me? Are you under? Wait, say it again. I don't. Are you under Wi-Fi? Because our connection's a little bad.
There, that's better. Is that
Yeah,
better?
yeah. What'd you say?
All right. I said, are they going to shut it down for the weed eater in the background?
Is it gas powered or solar?
It's
community.
Gas.
Well, you're gonna have to register that, okay? And could you maybe make a couple apologies to the dead dinosaurs that may? That's the biggest crock of shit. Dead dinosaurs created oil. How much Jurassic Park? I mean, come on, bro. One Humvee would have burned through all the dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, man. I'm glad you're on the show. Now, me and you go way back to the cigar page for Warfighter Cigar Tobacco. Is that how we met?
Yep.
So you were a witness to the original Bickling. Before I had the cigar channel, I was just a guy posting pictures, and everyone's like, "Oh, is that how you first saw me as the Bickle, or no?"
Yeah, that's how I first met you. And then you came through. You were driving through Lincoln, but I had I had a new job, and I couldn't meet up with you. But I left you my probably favorite cigar.
The decade Cameroon is actually a really good cigar. I have issues in the past with some Rocky Patels, but the decades were always great, and the decade Cameroon was fantastic.
Yeah. I try to. I don't know. I have a weird feeling with Rocky. Like, it seems like I hear that he will bring something out for like a cigar, like one of the big shows, and then everybody says, "Oh, it's really good," and you try it, and it's like meh.
Yeah. This is right. Okay, this is what I'll say about Rocky. It's an inconsistent brand. So when it's on, he has some solid sticks. But I
Yeah.
can't trust just the name. You get what I'm trying to say? And
Right.
it's now, if you're talking about back in the day when guys were buying $3-4 edges, not that they were great, but they're $3 and they're hanging out fine. But now you're getting to Rockies for $22. He's trying to be a luxury brand. At that point,
Right.
bro, I'll buy an Opus X for $20.
Yeah, for that amount of money, I agree. I agree all day.
So yeah, like or Padron. So I don't give Rocky Patel, and it's not because I'm being an asshole. I've smoked a lot of his stuff, and I like some of his mid tier stuff, and they're worth the mid tier price.
Right.
Like Big Firm, he psyched me out and sent me a Disciple, no band, and I was dead on. I guess the wrapper, I guess the price point, and and even I said it was good, wasn't great, but I would smoke it, and I had the Disciple before, and I did that band list, and so that describes Rocky Patel to a T. Like, it started off great, but then it got like weird in the middle, and it got real soft. So there was some issues with the construction. And even though a lot of his stuff was made with Plasencia, even though Plasencia is a great brand, when you contract cigars, it's like, okay, well, are you contracting, only 5,000 sticks, small batch, and you want the best tobacco and highest quality construction, or do you want mass production? You know what I'm saying? No, like a
Right.
brand that's just because let's say even Davidoff, if you went to them and said, I want 5 million cigars for, $10 a piece, you're not going to be getting like Davidoff, Royal Release level cigars. A company will make you whatever you want within, and remember that now that they made it for you, you got to make money over that price. So anytime a company contracts a cigar, it's never going to be the right price point as if they just made it themselves. You know what I'm saying, though?
Correct. Yeah. No, I get that. I agree.
And what I always say about that too is, let's say my father. I love my father more than Tatuaje. Why? Because even when I smoke a Tatuaje at the same price, I always rather have my father, and it's always cheaper, and I like it better. I think you get more money when you go with the original source. Um, but there has been some Tatuajes I did enjoy, like it was a smaller batch or something. But overall, would you rather have my father or Tatuaje if you have to have only those two brands the rest of your life?
I've never had a Tatuaje, but I do enjoy my father's. The Judge is one of my favorite cigars. And then I just had one of, I can't remember what it was. I have the band in my wallet, but I had one of his today and another my father, and I really like them.
My
They're,
father, very solid brand. Never have a bad cigar. Never a bad construction. Always a good burn. And the main thing is they're heavy generally and they're strong. Within range. Some have more than others, but they're never like ass kicking. But they're never mild. And
right.
so you always get a lot of flavor and at least medium plus minimum. I'm talking about even Connecticut shade. But you go with Bijou, almost full strength. You go with like a Judge. I find that medium plus, medium full. Like the Bijou is stronger than the Judge, but the Judge is a little more reserved.
I have
It's
like
more,
a La Fluente something. I don't know. It's got like a blue band on the bottom. I can't remember what it was. It was like a $20 stick.
It
Bought
was
it
it
for,
was my father.
yeah, it's my father.
Hmm. Have you ever
I'll
had the
send you,
Gar-
I'll send you a picture of it.
Have you ever had the Garcia and Garcia?
No.
Okay, so that is their best cigar. My recollection, it was like $35, $30, but that was on Opus level. I still prefer the Opus, but that cigar was. But the only reason my only problem with it, all the cigars of my father are on mid tier pricing, $8 to $13. So then
Right.
you come out with some for 35. I feel like they should have came out with something in between there because their best cigar is like 3 times the price of their normal price range of their custom. That's all I'm saying though. So
I can't bring myself though to spend like I will. Like I'll do it when I go on vacation. Like when we were in Seattle visiting family for Christmas, I bought an Opus X. I bought another Opus. I don't remember which one. Just to buy the Opus X, I had to buy two other cigars. And I did it because I'm on vacation, right? And when I go on vacation, I like to buy cigars that I
yeah,
don't normally see around where I am. And I'll buy a little bit more expensive cigars.
yeah, you're
But
on vacation. Yeah.
right, but that's not a cigar I'm going to smoke every day. I'm going to sit on that. I might sit on that cigar for 2 years before I even smoke it.
All right. Now, some of these gentlemen here ask, oh, no, Gio's not a gentleman, but he asks, who's this guy? Now, this guy, I go way back from Facebook and cigar lounges. That he was a witness to my coming of age with the Bickling. But we've been friends talking on Facebook. And when I drove to Nebraska, we were going to meet and have a cigar together. But he couldn't make it, as you said, with a new job. But when I got to the lounge, he already bought me a cigar and left it there for me. And then I bought you a cigar and left it for you. So it was a real nice gesture. And I smoked that cigar at a motel parking lot when I was, driving to New York. I think we stopped. What state did we stop? In Iowa. And I
Iowa.
smoked it that night because after Nebraska, we stopped in Iowa. And but it was a real piece of shit motel. It was not anything. It was like real, like $50 a night. And I woke up a few times to make sure my moving van was still there. It was not like and
Looking
not
out
that
the
I was a
window.
high crime area, but if you're right off the highway and like it's so quiet out there, it's a good place to steal cars because you know what I'm saying though. And I wasn't strapped because I flew to Colorado and coming from New York, and so you know what I'm saying. If I would have drove through, I would have had the shotgun in the trunk, and then I could have had it in the motel. But you know,
Right.
but now that I'm a Colorado resident, like and I have the CCW here, it should be national reciprocity, but I'm good in like 35 states, and then you have the constitutional states. But
What
so
do you
you're still
carry every day?
I got a mix, but right now I got a 38 snub in the front pocket because I like that because you can fire from the pocket, God forbid, and then I got a
Right.
USB 45 on my hip with plus P plus stuff. I got hot stuff in that.
Nice. Nice.
Well, the USP 45 can handle anything reliably. That's I'm not worried about wearing that thing out. But
Right.
I have a bunch of different stuff. But do you like the USP? Have you ever shot it?
I've shot one once. It was a 9 though.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't shot the 45.
Well,
But
that's their gold standard, man. If you the 45 USP is the most durable 45 ever made, dude. There are SWAT teams with over 100,000 rounds on the same gun, and they didn't change parts. No
oh, I
extraction, no guide rod. And that's what you're paying for. The guide rod system on the USP looks like a truck shock absorber. You know what I'm saying, though? And so it
Right.
can shoot the lightest recoiling ammo and still cycle because the slide is actually really easy to pull on the USP. But because it's a two-stage spring, the second stage doesn't get activated unless it's really hot. And it can shoot 45 super. No other stock pistol can shoot 45 super, which is almost 45 Magnum, and without damaging the gun or blowing up. So stock, it could go from ball ammo range, 45 to plus P plus to 45 super. Any other gun you'd have to modify, and I wouldn't recommend shooting 45s. My point is though, it's overbuilt, but it's also
there's a reason you pay for what you do with an HK, and that's because they're built like tanks.
yeah, it's over engineered and they're so reliable. But I only buy used legally at a store, and that one I think I paid $700 used, and it was literally 6 months old. Somebody bought it,
Yeah.
they probably like and and it was literally made in 2022. Like, is that really used? It's like
Right. Right. No, I
so.
carry. I usually have a Glock 48 that I will carry. It's got
Hmm?
I put a red dot on there, and then I'll carry a Glock 19 as well.
The Glock
So
system is proven, reliable, durable. I always bust balls about Glock just because of the fanboys, but it's a reliable. I have them. It's a
I
reliable.
didn't even start. What's interesting for me is I didn't start out with Glocks.
Okay,
My first handgun was a Springfield XDM, and I got
okay,
that in 45.
but
And
still, you're in that polymer striker fire. There's a lot of
yeah,
similarities. You know what I'm saying, though.
yep. And then I moved on from there. I got rid of that, and I went to Smith and Wesson, and I had a Smith and Wesson in 40 caliber for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife didn't like the 40, and I wanted to kind of have just try to stick to. I have various calibers, but I don't want to have a whole bunch. You know what I mean?
No, I get
So
it.
most of I have two 38s as well that we both have a 38. I carry that on my ankle usually when I carry it, and
Mm-hmm.
then now I have and then I bought a Glock at one point because I got it really cheap. And actually, this is funny. So Warfighter Tobacco, when they were based here in Nebraska, they also sold guns.
Yeah, the gun
So
store. Yep.
yeah, they were gun store and they did cigars. Well, when they were getting out of guns, when they were moving down to Texas, they put their guns on like super clearance. And I walked in there one day and I bought a particular model of Glock that was about $700, and I got it for $4. And I'm like, all right, here we go. So I got a good deal, and then I just started buying Glocks. I don't know.
No, and listen, and I respect that. If it's something you enjoy and you want to keep similarity, and if the wife knows how to operate, then they're very simple. Then
Yeah.
the thing with that is you need a good holster with all striker fire with no manual safety.
Yep.
You can't make lack of better words. I know it's not PC. You can't Mexican carry that. You can't stuff it in your pants.
Nope.
Um,
Not a
you could
Beretta. You know.
no, and I'll still carry a holster Beretta, but I'm saying, but with the hammer, any double action, single action with the hammer down at the cocker, I'm not worried about it ever blowing my junk off, especially that first pull is very long. With a striker with nothing on it but the little tang, you really need the holster. And if you're doing appendix, I recommend putting it in the holster before you put it in, because if it goes off, you know what I'm talking, bro, it happens, man.
Oh,
You know,
see, I'm a
you,
little fluffy, and when I was thinner about 5 years ago, I could carry appendix. And if I will carry appendix if I'm going to go somewhere and be walking around the entire time. Like
I
we
get
go
that.
outside, you know. But if
But
I'm
dude,
sitting
you could appendix carry a snub nose.
true,
With the little holster, you would, like in the Goodfellas. Remember, he stuffed it in his pants. You
yep,
didn't even just a belt. You don't have to worry about that. But yeah, Glocks definitely. I would do a strong side, or a shoulder holster. But I think people really don't do shoulder holster anymore. But I think they're missing out on that, because if you're in the car, shoulder holster is really convenient, man.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's out of
And,
the way. There's a reason why cops do it. You know, like you see the detectives doing it a lot because they're out of the. It's out of the way. It's not going to bother them. If they need to, they can draw it. You know,
yeah,
it's easy to cover. It's easy to throw a shirt over a shoulder holster.
but especially in a vehicle, like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Unless if you're in a big truck, I'm in a Corolla. That's why I keep the snub nose in my front pocket, because if I had to get to the USP with its heavy coat on, you know what I'm saying, though. I'm in a
Yep.
little car. I could do it, but it's not as fast. Where I
Yep.
could. So yeah, revolvers have their limitations, but uh, the benefit is I could fire from the pocket. No
Did this
jam.
guy really? Did Soccer really say appendix carry a Desert Eagle?
Oh, he's busted balls.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
Now, I have done that in the past in New York. When I had my license there, I did have a Desert Eagle 44 Magnum, and I was a young man back then. I was 23 years old, 24. You know, dude, I would rock a few. Desert Eagle, and a 44 Magnum revolver, Smith & Wesson Model 29 with a 6-inch barrel. But you know why it is though? In New York, if you have a pistol license, it feels more important because it's harder to get. So then you feel like you're a god. You feel like you're. Where other states, they're like, you just get a driver's license and you can buy them out of. So New York was so restrictive, and every time you go to buy a gun, you gotta go to the store, buy it, get the receipt, go to the pistol bureau within their hours, get a purchase document, bring the purchase document back to the gun store the next day. They mark the purchase document with their FFL, bring the gun, the purchase document, and the sales receipt back to the pistol bureau within 7 business days, and then register. And then they put it on your pistol license, like they have the serial number and everything else, and then now you're good. But it's a 3-step process. You could do it in one day if you take the whole day off and you go in the morning, but they only open from 9 to 5. So it is.
You know what? It's really interesting to me about various states and their concealed carries because
No,
I
no.
would
Let me
I
explain
would
what New York State's not. It's concealed carry, but you can't even touch a pistol without the concealed carry. That's where you. New York State, you
really.
can't even buy a handgun without the.
Okay, so take this. So we lived in Washington State for 4 years.
Yeah.
And in Washington State, you walk in and they will give you don't even have to have any training, you don't have to take a class. They will do the background check, but that's about it. They will give you a concealed carry class. Here you go, no
Yeah.
questions asked, which is interesting to me because it's more of a blue state. You go to like Nebraska, you have to take a class here. They can fail you in the class, but you have to take a class here just to even be able to apply for your permit.
But that's not to own a gun. That's the concealed carry.
Correct. To own a handgun in Nebraska, you do have to have what's called a purchase permit. Now that basically says you go to basically all you do is you go to the sheriff's department and you say I want to get a purchase permit, and they say okay, pay us $5. You pay them $5 and you get a purchase permit. You only have to do that for handguns,
But isn't
rifle.
all of it bullshit? Because nowhere in the Second Amendment says you got to do that. Now, granted, that's not so restrictive like New York, but still, it's still taking it on the nose. Like, why are you fucking doing this to me? I got to get. Oh, so if I don't give you $5, I'm a felon. Go fuck yourself. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but you don't have to do it for long guns. And
Well, it might have
so
changed because Notorious is in Washington now, and I know Washington's gotten worse over the past few years, so they might have changed it.
gotten bad. It's
He
gotten
says right
bad.
now you have to take an online class for a semi-auto long gun now in Washington. Yeah,
Yep.
and honestly, I hope that gets overturned.
And when I left Washington, they were enacting 10-round mag bans. They were enacting that is officially passed now, so you can't have anything more than 10 rounds.
Now, but what about you already had it? Your grandfathered in, right?
I believe you're grandfathered in.
But in New York though. There was no grandfather. Okay, there was grandfather in New York, but after 2013, there was no grandfather. So you either turned them in, throw them out, or you're getting a 1-year felony. In Colorado, it's a $25 ticket, but you could already have them, and they don't enforce it. The sheriffs won't enforce it. So I talked to the sheriff. He goes, "We don't care. They sell them in the stores. Oh, because how can we tell if you already had it or if they just bought it?" He
Right,
says,
like that's what I said. I like what's to stop an FFL, like if like in Washington, I drove one time down to Boise, Idaho, and I was talking to my wife about this, and I said, "Honey, what's to stop somebody from putting a gun shop right on the other side in Idaho, right? They don't date mags. It's not like a loaf of bread. There's no date on them. I
"It's
don't think."
unenforceable. This is what they
And
do." The cop said. He said, "It's an extra charge if you commit a felony. That's all it is." So at least here, they're only enforcing it if you're committing a crime. So if you rob a bank, um, and you use the 30-round mag in Colorado, you'll get a $25 ticket for the mag on top of the armed robbery
on
charge.
top of the felony.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but the $25 is just a little topic. My point is though, it's ridiculous, and because how could you ban something that people already have and make them a felon? So they didn't enforce it, and honestly, so
Right.
basically, it's bullshit. But the corporate stores won't sell anything more than 10 rounders or 15 round
Right.
because it's 15 round here. But
Well,
it's
in
bullshit.
Washington, there's a they can't sell them at all. You cannot sell them at all. In fact, the state AG is busting dealers who do.
That's a crock of shit. If I was a gun shop, I'd leave Washington State. They can go fuck themselves. Oh, because what's the difference with somebody with 310 rounders or 130? If you're not a criminal, you're not a criminal. If you're a criminal, they're going to do whatever they want. I don't. If a criminal had a 410 single barrel shotgun and he's committing crime, he can still fuck someone up. So it's either you're not a criminal or you are. If you're a criminal,
Right.
you lost those gun rights because You know, and honestly, criminals, you should keep them in prison. They let these criminals do over and over, in and out of prison, in and out of prison. You know, any guy that's shooting people on the streets, you know, and not in self defense, but as a crime, that wasn't his first time, and it wasn't his first crime. So
Yep.
why is he still in the streets? I just talked to a cop that, and he works at a hospital, and there was a patient that went nuts, and he attacked the doctors, and he broke one of their legs. Well, the DA contacted back the police department that week, and they said we feel $100 fine is appropriate. $100 ticket for breaking a fucking nurse's leg. There you go. And then
Jeez.
that's Colorado. You know what I'm saying though? So if you're a criminal, come to Colorado. Hell, if it was 2 legs, maybe it's 150. Maybe you get half off. You know?
Oh, so how's the cigar?
Oh, dude, this is fantastic. This is the Fuente Hemingway Classic. It's a 7x46, perfect size. Even though it's a long stick, a lot of flavor, but it's the Maduro version. Have you ever had the Fuente Hemingway Maduros?
No,
Bro.
no.
So picture a beautiful Maduro, not super strong, not mild, like medium plus, and it eventually picks up to medium full. But it's so sweet, so syrupy, so chocolatey, and then the black pepper and the coffee's on the side. So it's just a beautiful balanced chocolatey cigar, but not to like so much chocolate makes you sick. But like Fuentes have, I've never gotten sick from any Fuente flavor, bro. I smoked 3 Opus X the other night. Did you see that?
I saw. Yeah, I was cruising your channel tonight.
Bro,
Yeah.
I had no side effects. The next day, I was only tired, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm sick. Like, I can't imagine smoking 3 of any cigars, and I smoked 2 of them at the same time, and there was no side effects. Like, you know, like I just was tired the next day. You know, like, like imagine smoking 3 LFD Ligeros back to back to back, you die. You know.
I I'm not my brother. My brother's the one who got me into cigars, and ironically now he's into pipes.
Mm.
But he really enjoys like the triple Maduro stuff, and I have done. I smoked one of those and I couldn't finish it.
So what's your gauge with cigars? What do you normally go to? What's your strongest you go to, and that's on the line? Where
So, well, I'll just let me start with this. Right now, I'm smoking a Warfighter. It is the Robusto, and I think it's the Sumatra. It's the 762 Field.
it's the field line.
So, yep, it's the field line, and it's right in the middle of the road. But I am more of a medium, a heavy medium cigar.
Okay,
Like I
so
will
I would call that medium
smoke
plus.
some Maduros, but they're not my first choice.
Okay, in this case, you would like the Hemingway Maduro because they're not strong for Maduro. Because most of the Maduros you think about, like a My Father, which might be pretty strong, not the Judge, but if you had a Le Bijou or a Palencia is stronger than the Judge. So maybe you would like this Hemingway Maduro because it's very balanced and it's very sweet and it's not a strong cigar. I'm not saying it's weak, but it hangs out at medium plus, which would be a heavy medium. What you're saying, I just
Right.
call that like a plus B, like a heavy medium. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of where I am. I'm willing. I'll try just about anything. You know, I would say my go-tos, just because I can get them a lot around here. I like Perdomos. I
Well,
like
which one do you like?
I like their sun-grown one.
Which one though? The 20th?
Yeah,
The 20th I'll fuck with. And I busted balls with Padoma before in the past, but the 20th sun grown is not bad. And but the what's the one I really liked? There was one that was a special edition Perdomo. That one was my favorite one. I can't remember the name of it. And a little red silver band underneath. Did you ever see that one? Could somebody remember that Perdomo? It was like a special edition. But they do make it though on a regular basis. It was a small batch. I think it was called small batch. Have you ever seen
haven't
that
heard
one?
of that one. No, I don't think
Bro,
so.
that one was actually really good. Uh, but I do like their 12-year barrel age, right? The bourbon, what's that called?
12-year.
Yeah, there's three. It's the Connecticut Maduro and Sungrown 12-year. It has the picture of like Scotch or beer on the
I know which
van.
one you're talking about. I'm drawing a blank though. They have that at my local shop.
It's like normally like $14. It's a more higher end for them. That one was if I was just a regular one, that one's my go-to. I actually like that one better over the 20th. If you haven't tried that one, try that one, man. It's called a 12-year or something. I forget why they call it 12-year. I'm not sure. You know.
I like those, and then I do like, and I don't know which one it is, but you probably will know. It's the Padron, but it's in a cellophane, because you know how most Padrones are not.
So is it a cheaper Padron? Is it the 1000 series?
I would probably say so. I think it's like $10, 12
Yeah, so
bucks.
that's the 1,000 series. So when I say 1,000, there's 2,000, 3,000, and the bigger the number you go, the bigger the sizes. Those come in natural, but it's not a shade grown. It's a natural, like a sun grown. And then so the natural and the Maduro. Which one do you like better?
I actually like the Maduro on that one.
Mhm. Yeah, those
Yeah.
ones are robust. I find them simplistic and heavy. And if you're in that kind of mood, like you're gonna get a lot of earth and black pepper. That's I get a lot of that out of it. If you're in that kind of um, I call it like because it's a younger cigar. It's only aged 2 years as opposed to 4 years with the 64 or 5 years with the 26 or 10 years as opposed to the 90th. But you're paying a lot of money for that because, dude, the longer you're aging tobacco and the higher quality of the tobacco, that's where the money is. People say, oh, why is the 26 more than a 1,000? Well, 3 years of difference. And to send
Right.
a start of college for 3 more years, it's a lot more money,
Right.
you know?
So
And, you know,
what's your take on some more of the boutique? Do you get into the boutique brands at all?
I do. And there's some I love and some I think are bullshit. I haven't been say reviewing heavily in about a year now because I mostly lounge, we're hanging out, and I'll occasionally review stuff. But
Right.
I did all my old videos for PC reasons because, I, the way the world's going, and my old videos, I really went off the cuff and said whatever I want. But now in this day and age, unfortunately, all those videos too, they restricted them. I was getting no advertisements,
Right.
money, and then it just became like a liability. Like if somebody doesn't like you and they're like, I don't think you should be talking like that. You know what I'm saying? No, it's like
Right.
I felt like it was just gonna get my channel banned. So as much as because since I've been on YouTube, they made it progressively worse, and that's how communism works. You start somewhere and they keep going and going, and even now, certain topics or once again, firearms. If you show one, they could drop your channel, ban your channel.
Right.
But
Speaking of this, I am toying with the idea of coming to Colorado next year
Mhm.
to watch the Huskers play the Buffaloes.
Okay, I'm
And
not, but go ahead. Yeah, I'm not
if
too.
if I do that, we might have to meet up.
Oh, definitely, man. I'll be in the area. I'm home by 3 o'clock, or I'm off on the weekends. So I mean, you know, definitely catch up. Where would you be staying?
I don't know. My buddy and I have been talking about it. It's probably I think they play in Colorado Springs. I think. I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
an hour and 20 minutes away from me.
Where are you at?
I'm near Denver, man. I'm 20 minutes from Denver. I'm not in Denver, but if you're in the Denver area, you're in Denver. So I'm 20 minutes from Denver, but I'm not in the county of Denver. But it's just easier to say Denver because
Right.
pretty
Same
most.
thing. Like when I lived in Washington, I'm like, well, where'd you live? Oh, I lived in Puyallup. Well, nobody knows what it is. Oh, I lived in Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my sister lives in Seattle.
Does she like it?
She's a liberal. She loves it, and God bless her. I love her. She's my flesh and blood. But I don't talk politics with her or any. She's not an American, So, but that's fine. I love her, and I'll pray for her. That's it. That's people like that, whether it's family or friends or whatever. I accept what they are. I talk hello, goodbye, how's the family? God bless you, wish you the best. But we really can't shoot the shit about anything because you know what I'm saying. Though it's just, for example, I was gonna come visit because my dad was gonna go to Seattle and my brother, and like we're all gonna have like a family reunion, right? Hang
Right.
out. And she's like, in the email, she said, okay, yeah, these are the dates. And she works for like Expedia. She makes really good money and she can get us the best ticket prices and all this shit. And she's like, just make sure you come with your updated vaccine printouts so I know you can come to my house. And I'm like, what? What? And it was a list. And I'm like, yeah, no. I was just like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I don't want to use the name on the show because they'll delete the channel. But I'm not taking the C19. I'm not taking a whooping cough. Like, why? I'm alive. I'm fine. I've worked it, the whole time in the healthcare business. I'm fine. I didn't die. So what I tell people is, if I'm under the water and I'm not wearing a snorkel, and you are, then clearly you don't need it. It's not like, you know what I'm saying though. If I'm jumping out
Right.
of air and I don't need a parachute, and then you see me on the bottom and I'm walking around, hey, why are you wearing a parachute? You don't need it. But obviously, in those cases, you do need them because it's real. Gravity's real, and you can't breathe underwater. But if me and you are still alive, and you're like, oh, I've taken 4 of these, and they're not even vaccinations; they're therapeutics. People don't realize the difference. Like I'm not
The
against all that.
steroid shot. It's just like it's like the flu, and that's what people don't get. It's like
It's a
when you get
therapeutic.
shot, when you get the flu shot every year, it's just it's what the doctors and scientists think the major strain of the flu be that year, right?
And
And
everyone
so
that
it's
takes
the same
shots
thing.
is more sick. When you don't take them, every time you get sick, you're gonna get sick either way. If you don't take, let's say, the flu shot, when you beat the flu, you have 26 new ways to beat it because you have natural immunity. That's what a doctor told me. When you take the shot, your body only has one way to
I
beat it.
only ever I got the flu shot once in high school, and I got so sick I was out for like a week. I've never had it since.
Dude, I, I,
And
I
then
took
what ironically with the the stuff that everybody went through in the world, right? So we were in Seattle in 2019 for Christmas.
mhm.
And we all came back. We came back in January, go back about our lives. But the middle to the end of January, we all got sick. All four of us got sick. And we didn't really, it was just mysterious. It was kind of like some of the symptoms. We didn't know what it was. And my wife works in the healthcare. And so she got the shot, and I eventually got it because of what I do. And but anyway, when she got it, she had some symptoms. Like she was slightly worried, and so she talked to her boss, who's a pharmacist, and he was like, "I bet you guys had it and you didn't know." And so we're sitting here thinking, like, "Holy shit, did we bring this stuff to Nebraska?" Because that's where it originated. It originated out in Washington. The first cases in the country were in Washington. So
So what? Do you think it came over on a ship somehow in the ports?
my opinion on that, I firmly believe that president when because Donald Trump had just signed his first, deal with, like, he had his trade war with China, and he had just signed it the first deal with China, and then it hit. And I think it was China striking back. I think they purposely let it get out, to see what it would do.
But why
And
you
because
trust?
China doesn't care about their people. China doesn't care. China
But
doesn't care
wait,
if they
bro,
kill
why
10
you trust
billion.
to fly weather balloons over for us? They're helping us out with the weather.
Does that make Here's what I don't get, right? It flew all the way across the Pacific Ocean. It goes into the Aleutian Islands, and then it goes up. It goes up into Canada, and then it goes down into Montana, where they spotted it. And they didn't fucking see this thing until it got to Montana.
First off, it's a lie. Second off, it shows how weak we are. Third off, that means they allowed it. It's just like with the border, they're allowing it. They're condoning this. You know what I'm saying? No, I think like China's just, dude. If a guy comes to my house and sits down and drinks my beer, I guess I'm his bitch, right?
Right.
Right? Yeah.
And they're worried. They're like, well, we can't shoot it down. I was reading some stuff today about it. Well, we can't shoot it down because it might set some precedent. Oh, we go into the South China Sea. Yeah, but that's a sea. Nobody owns necessarily the middle of the air in an ocean. You
There's
are over our
no
airspace.
excuse.
We would never send that. And granted, it's at 60,000 feet. You're not going to really get it. Like I was talking to my buddy, he was a former Marine today at work, and he's like, "Yeah, but at 60,000 feet, they're looking straight down." He's like, because it was over in Montana, it was over some of our one of the nuke bases, and he's like, "You can get on Google and look at that. You can get on Google and zoom in on a base. You're not going to see anything. It's just a big concrete cover. You can see a cover, but you're not going to see anything." But then it went down. It was over Brandon. It was over not Brandenburg, but the base in Missouri, and that's where they keep the B 2 bombers at. And it's like they're gonna just let this thing fly across the United States. They could have blown it out of the sky up there in Montana, and nobody would have gotten hurt. And on the off chance that it landed on the one rancher's house that it was in, I'm sure we could have bought him a new
Dude,
house.
in this case, let's say if it was packed with something, it's better off it goes in the air than coming down and landing. You know what I'm saying, though?
Right.
The fact that they even let it in, it shows how weak we are, or it shows how what's the word? In cahoots this department is with China. You know what I'm saying? No, because how could you allow this? Like, how could you allow this? I can't even believe we're talking about this. We're getting invaded. I don't care if it's if it's one plane, one balloon. It's an invasion. You can't say, wow, it's only one
And they're
time.
obviously steering it because the course it's taken, it's not going through the winds.
Yeah.
Like it's making turns. You don't go from Montana and then end up down in Missouri, right?
Well, it might be a couple Chinese scientists just trying to watch the Super Bowl. Maybe they want to get some Fuente rare pinks. As
Are those worth it?
they're
The
great.
rare pink.
This is all I'm gonna say though. When it comes to Fuente, they're magical cigars at MSRP. When it comes to the secondary market or high pricing, is it worth it? It's up to you. It's kind of like, what I'm saying though. Like the real price of rare pink should be $13, bro. Like I bought rare pink. I think I paid $14. Now I also paid $22. But I bought Opus out here for $18, $17. But you could also buy the same cigar at another lounge for $35. They gouge, and but people will still buy because
Right.
because go fuck yourself, right? Because what are you gonna do? So is it worth it? Yeah, I wouldn't pay $50 a stick for rare pink. It's not a $50 cigar. I'd go up to like 20 because it's a great cigar. But I know I'm getting a little gouged, but whatever. But I'd say wait a little while. Hopefully they become more mass produced. Because what it is that cigar is the first time they have some of their new Nicaraguan tobacco from their fields in Nicaragua. So I think as time goes on, we're going to start seeing more Nicaraguan cigars or mixture of Nicaraguan cigars with the Fuente, with the Dominican stuff, which I think it mixes really well.
Who
Because
do you, who do you think is making the best cigars right now?
what do you mean by best, though? I mean, best in what category?
Just in like overall general, like the best cigar for what you pay for it right now.
If you the keyword is what you pay, because if you say best cigars, money no object, dude. Like if you ever had Atabey, Byron, like Alfonso, that ever had those high end sticks?
I've had it Adobe once.
I love that brand as far as the high quality and the boxes they're putting out and the construction and the bandoleros are fantastic. So, but those could get pretty expensive. But the real pricing is really should be about $30. So that's a luxury cigar.
Right.
But if you're talking about like mid tier stuff, I think LFDs are great. I think my father's are great. Plasencias are great. EP Carrillo with the pledge and all of his other stuff. Did you ever have any EP Carrillos or no?
Yeah. I've had
But
one of those.
Fuentes is one of the greatest brands as far as, and they have range, but I really only mess with Fuentes from Hemingway up. So Hemingway, Don Carlos, Anejos, and Opuses, and all the models within those. You know what I'm saying, though? I don't smoke like lower end Fuentes. They don't do it for me. I'm not knocking guys that do. I mean, if you enjoy regular chateaus, God bless. But for me, if I instead of buying a chateau for 10, I'd rather spend 12 and get a Hemingway Maduro. Does that make any sense? So for me, for $2 more, I'll get, you know, once you get to what I call the brown wooden box in Hemingway, that's where the cigars get great. The Fuentes in the white boxes are like their everyday mid tier stuff, which is fine, but I, I don't like the flavor on them, and I'm all about flavor. So the brown box Fuentes, whether it's Hemingway, Don Carlos, and up, um, what's one of my brands I love? I'm not gonna say I'm a Fuente fanboy because it's not. I'm not just a fan of the whole brand, but I love the higher end Fuentes, and especially just smoking for flavor now. I love them. If I'm going for more stronger stuff, I love Padron. Okay, I love Davidoff though. But once again, we're getting to higher end stuff. But that's why I have to factor in the price. Aladino, did you ever fuck with them?
I don't think so. I don't know if I've had one of those.
You're missing out because Aladino, I can recommend the whole brand, and they're not ridiculously strong because I know you're not into that, but it's a great Honduran brand. And Aladino was the original Camacho. Aladino, the guy named is Aurora, sold his Camacho brand to Davidoff. So if Camacho, the original Camacho was so good, and Davidoff bought him, and the newer Camachos are still okay, but they're not as good from what I hear as the original Camachos, because it is more mass produced now. But Aladino is a great Honduran brand. I would recommend all the Aladinos. They're Aladino Cameroon. I think it's the first Honduran Cameroon where they grow Cameroon tobacco in Honduras as opposed to Africa. So it's fantastic. So if you never got a chance for that, as far as just like what big mid tier brands have just are so consistent. My father's probably one of the number one as far as mid tier stuff. My father, EP Carrillo, but my father's bigger than like EP Carrillo. My father, their whole selection and their price point, around $10, $12, is really hard to beat in that category. But I love Oliva as well in the Milanios, the Milano V's. And my local guy, I get him for a steal. I'm getting Milano V's for $11, bro. Milano V Maduros.
Let me set my phone down. I'm trying to get this band off real quick.
Okay, gotcha. Do you like Oliva?
Oh, I love Oliva. I got a local shop that I can get the Oliva V's for fairly good. I would say I think they're $12.
V's or Millennial V's?
V's.
Okay. What are they charging for Millennials?
I don't know if he has that one. He doesn't seem to. He only will carry what he sells, and it's really hard to get him to bring in other things. So,
Hey, Gio, how you doing, Gio? Yeah, my balls are good, bro. Oh, hold on. Gio's here. Roll out the red carpet. The prince of the cigar lounge is here. I bust Gio's balls all the time. Gio's like my little brother, you know? So you watched the show for a while. In the live shows, what when he comments on the different characters we have on the show, like any funny moments or like do you have a favorite character that comes on? Because we have like 6 regular guys that are always on. Just tell me what your opinion. Just be honest. Like which guy makes
Gio's hilarious. Every time I'm on, I like Gio. He's always cracking jokes, making you laugh, which makes me laugh. He's the only name I can name off the top of my head, though.
Because though I'm always saying fuck Gio. I made Gio a household name. So like, see, I made fuck Gio become like a phrase. It's not even a disrespect. It's kind of like forget about it. Like fuck Gio. You know what I'm saying though. And what about you've seen the flexing with Sacco? Dude, that guy's the flexer.
Oh yeah, Sacco, yeah.
So he has the Rolls Royce in the biggest cigar collection. He's the flex. You know.
He has Rolls. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah, he's flexing. Now, have you ever seen PG with the couch flex with the under couch or no?
No.
Dude, the guy has like 5,000 cigars under his couch. It's ridiculous. And we waited like months to get to see him in the flex. He's like, and now we know why. Because that night, it took like 3 hours to show all of his sticks. And it's like 5,000. For the most part, it's like majority like singles. So it's like he has like the most crazy random selection. Like, you know what I'm saying? Though, like, but he's so selective. He's like, I'm saving these for like this. I'm aging this box for 5 years. This container, I'm not opening up. I'm saving this container for I don't know what decade. Like he has a plan. Like it's pretty crazy. Like he's a very
like there's a guy I follow on TikTok who does that, and I think he works at a cigar store, owns a cigar store. I don't know where. He's somewhere here in the United States, and he has thousands of sticks in his personal collection, right? And I'm sure owning a cigar shop helps with that. But like, I try to keep on hand. I mean, I have a little Milwaukee like pack out case. It's probably 6 inches deep and it's 20 inches or whatever, and I probably have 50, 60 cigars, and I will stack up cigars over the winter, and then as soon as spring and summer hits, I'll start smoking more, because in the wintertime I'm in my lovely garage here.
How cold is it right now?
Fucking freezing. It's like 3 degrees.
Right now it's 41, so I'm nice, bro. But this past like month, 5, 0, 10, 18. So you get below 20, it's not fun. You get to 0, it doesn't matter at that point. You're just like, I'm gonna die. So even in the car, when it gets to, I would do stuff in the car like 18, but when it gets to 0, because I have the car on for the heat on my feet, it's not even fun at 0 degrees because like. And I still have to have the window open for the smoke. And at 0 degrees, I don't want to leave my engine running. So when it gets those colds, I don't, do a lounge every night. It's just,
Well,
although
I got this little like heater thing right here. Here, I'll show it. I got this little thing. It's just roasting my balls,
that's
and
not.
I leave that out in the garage because I kind of figured out that this is where I smoke. I mean, I got a TV up here, so I'll come out here and watch sports and stuff and smoke a cigar. But if I keep that little heater going, it'll probably be 40 in here, but it's cold right now, which is weird because tomorrow is supposed to be like 50 degrees.
Yeah, but especially in nighttime in the dark, you're in the Midwest, it gets windy as hell, man. It gets cold, and you still got to be bundled up. You're wearing a hat, you're wearing a heavy coat. It gets cold.
I got a Carhartt vest and Carhartt hoodie on, and oh yeah.
Yeah, it's cold, man.
My problem is though with you is you get on usually a little bit later, and so I'm up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, and by the time I get home, deal with the kids, get the kids fed, and I got a part-time little thing I do twice a week, and I'm beat every once in a while.
But
What?
I'm gonna flex on you right now, bro. I get up at 5 o'clock too. I suffer for the lounge, so I know nobody cares about Richie. When I get up at 5 in the morning, bro, it hurts. When I go to like 11:30 and I get up at 5, it hurts. But I suffer for the lounge. You know what I'm saying? No, now granted though, I don't have any kids yet. My kid got stolen from me in divorce, and I have no custody. But God bless her mother. My kid has a great life. So as far as my kid, she has a great, happy life, and God bless. But whatever. I'm not going to make this to a sob story. But when you have kids in the house, it's you know what I'm saying? You can't be like 8 o'clock at night, honey, I'm gone for 4 hours and go smoke cigars. Like,
I
where's
can do
dad?
that every once in a while, but I can't do it every night.
No, you're like, where's daddy? He's with Richie right now. Just shut up and go to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Well, she told him that because I went up there and took a shower, and she's like, and I was putting some sweats on and putting my hoodie on. She's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do a live with Richie." She's like, "Oh, okay."
It's,
And
it's,
then I texted her. I'm like, "Hey, the kids already go to bed right before I got on with you." And she's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "I told him you'd come give him a kiss when you got done." I'm like, "Oh, they'll be asleep, but okay."
it's, they're gonna make a new Cat Stevens song. That was the cat. No, the Cats in the Cradle. You know what I'm saying? No,
Yeah.
but like Daddy's in the lounge, and then I realized my boy was just like me. Hey son, do you want to hang out? I'm sorry, Dad, I'm busy. I'm watching the lounge, smoking cigars in my car. You know what I'm saying? The boy
You
grew
know,
up
it's
just
funny.
like me.
My son, he was telling me today because I bought a truck on Monday, and
Oh God,
finally was able to have a cigar in it, and had a couple beers with one of our guys is getting a different job at work, and anyway, so I'm driving home to get the kid, and I was smoking a cigar, and we had to run a couple errands. And he's like, "Well," he's like, "Dad, I don't mind you smoking cigars, but I prefer the smell of an unsmoked cigar." Like he likes to smell the cigar in the box, like in my little humidor. But he says, "I don't like the smell of them when you smoke them."
yeah. Well, how old is he?
He's 10.
All right, 6, 7 more years, maybe we'll have a stick with Dad. You know what I'm saying though?
That's what I said. Are you gonna have a? Well, yeah, I'll probably smoke a cigar with you, Dad.
Yeah, he will. How many kids you got?
Two. I got a son and a daughter. My son's 10 and my daughter's 8.
Well, God bless, man. You got your hands full. I wish them years of health and happiness, man. Kids are the
Well, thank
best thing.
you.
Uh, um,
You know, one thing about cigars for me though is interesting is I never thought this would be true. You know how Arnold says is like his wife could never get mad at him for smoking cigars because her dad got him into him.
yeah,
My wife, it gets her going when I smoke a cigar. She loves the smell on me,
nice,
and I'm
nice.
just like, whoa.
So, so first you get the ash, then you get the ass. You see?
That'd be a great slogan for a cigar shop. First
Yeah,
you get the ash, then you
yeah,
get the ash.
it's first you get the cellophane, then you get the ash. Then you get the power. Doing little scar faces. But so other character. So have you seen Jeremy before? Jeremy's the guy that Samuel the Opus. He has the big red beard. He's the Opus whisperer. This guy is the most knowledge on high end Fuentes, and he's been on the show a lot. We have Notorious the show a lot. He's the millennial man. That guy has like 60 boxes of millennial V. Like he's getting them for like $5 a fucking stick. Like he bought. That's what we call him, the millennial man. You know what I'm saying? No, but we got a lot of characters. What would you say your favorite episode was in the past, just in general? Like, what made you laugh the most, or favorite topic, or favorite character? We
One of
have
your
like
ones around Christmas. One of your ones around Christmas had me rolling. I don't remember which one it was. You were just smoking and talking, and you played the piano a little bit, and yeah, that just had me rolling.
so you see a lot of my piano videos and everything like that.
Oh yeah, you got to
Yeah,
do more of those. Your piano, my wife, I showed it to my wife, and she loves piano music, and she's like, he's talented.
I love playing, man. I need to do more, man. It's I don't know why too. Playing piano makes me sad. I don't know why. I think it's because like it makes me miss New York. New York had a lot more pianos. I used to play at a lot of bars, restaurants, or even at nursing homes, or just in general. Or I would set up my piano like in like a main street, like in a party town, and like I would just set up, and there'd be so many places I could plug in and just I just bring the piano, and it's like New York's more interactive like that. We're out here in Colorado, unless you're like in Denver, but even then, like it's not the same feel as New York. You know what I'm saying? No, like New
Right?
York,
No,
the streets are alive in New York, whether in
New
Long Island.
York is special. New York is special. Like my wife's a big Christmas lady, and I've and but before I met her, things happened in my past that I didn't really like the holidays, and I didn't really like them until I had my kids, and even then, after first having my kids, the holidays were hard for me. But she's always made me promise her that someday we will go to New York and be in New York City for Christmas, and
Well, wait for if they pass that reciprocity bill, then you can legally carry in New York City. Wait for that, right? That'll be the day. It's gonna happen because New York has gotten in so much trouble because the Supreme Court overruled, with the
yeah, they said it was too restrictive.
it
Well, they
was
said you have to let them conceal carry, and then they said, okay, fine, and here's a list of 99,000 places you can't conceal carry.
yeah, basically in your car, you're fine. That's it.
Yeah, you can't walk in a park with a gun. Like nobody knows you have it. And
Yeah.
I've always argued this too. Like I think when you conceal carry, you get to a point to where you're like, I'm going to take it in this place. Should I have it? No. Am I allowed to? No. But if you conceal carry right, nobody's going to know.
On top of that, um, if somebody comes and robs you or tries to kill you, what are you worried about at that point? Like, oh, I broke your
Right.
policy. At least I'm alive. You know what I'm saying, though? And then it becomes a case of if some murder rapist wants to try to kill you or attack you and your family, and you protect someone else or from a major crime, society itself will.
Right. I've always wondered that. Like if you're in a place that says no handguns and you have a handgun in there and you're doing whatever you're doing, and somebody starts coming and shooting them or shooting it up or whatever, or tries to rob it, and you really think that in this day and age, and I've wondered this truly, what do you really think you're going to catch charges for
No,
stopping somebody?
it'll be beat so fast in court, but this is where you would get in trouble. If you are on private property, not a public property, let's say you're like at a store or a movie theater, let's say a place where it has a sign. If they do ask you, if security or somebody says, we want you to leave because we think you have one on you, then you have to leave. Because
Right. Right.
if you don't leave, then it's armed trespassing. Then you say,
Right.
okay, unless I'm out of here. But if
Yep.
you're TCing right, it's no one's business. And you know what I'm saying? No, to me, it's the same thing as if somebody was walking around with AIDS. Dude, they're more dangerous than anything. So they're concealed carrying a live virus.
Right.
The AIDS virus could kill everyone. So imagine a sign on the door, no AIDS. You know what I'm saying? Oh, hold on, honey. I gotta leave the AIDS in the glove box. You got the AIDS on the ankle holster. Yes. I'm just saying, like it's.
No, I agree. I've done it plenty of times.
Any place that has
And
that sign, if okay, so you're gonna protect me? You're gonna give me a bodyguard then? Are you gonna protect me and my family? No,
right,
oh no,
and that's always been my argument, especially to anti-gun people. They're like, well, the police are never there when you need them, and I would rather have something on me because I read this saying one time, and I'm gonna paraphrase it. Basically, it said, I'm the guy who stands behind you in the grocery store with a gun on my hip that you don't know I have a gun on my hip, right? But if somebody comes in, my family's gonna get pushed to safety first, and then if you're standing right next to me, guess what? You're gonna go right next to him, right?
yeah.
I'm gonna do what I do what I can to protect you. And I hope I do that, right? Because that's what I've signed up to do when you carry a gun. You're carrying a gun is a very big responsibility. And you take that, nobody should take that lightly. But you also we also realize that it's not just us we're protecting you as well. Like we
There's
don't ever have to use it.
there's no guarantee when you go out in public, something bad might happen. But there's one guarantee: if it does something bad does happen, criminals don't like an armed victim. Period.
Right.
Period. Right? How come you see these videos of guys break into a restaurant or a house, and there's 3 or 4 guys, and one guy comes out and shoots the first guy? What do they all do? They get out because they just wanted easy money getting out. These guys aren't brave. You know what's brave? Getting up every day, going to work, being a real man. These guys are pussies.
Bronx Tale.
So
Bronx
yeah,
Tale.
they just want to steal. So if once they come into something, they're not getting paid now, and now they just want to go. You know what I'm saying? Though
There's an old, I mean this early 2000s, a video, and this lady has a high point carbine. It's all rusty. I mean, high points in my opinion are junk except for their carbines. Their carbines are good, but this little old lady, she wasn't even old. She was a young mom. They broke into her house, and they broke in her back door, and I think she was like laying on the ground firing at them as they were trying to come down her hallway, and they just took off running. Right, like criminals don't want to, they're not going to run towards the gunfire.
no,
They're going
because
to run away.
if they get hit, you go into a hospital, and now you're definitely getting caught. You know what I'm saying? Though, so it's like
Right.
at that point the gig is up, the fun is over. You know what I'm saying? Though, so you know, uh, and they're proved more and more people. The more they let these criminals out of jail and do whatever they want, the more people aren't putting up with it. Oh, everyone's buying guns and concealed carrying or just owning on their property, whatever. More criminals are getting shot like crazy, and they're like, "Oh, this is an epidemic. These criminals are getting shot." Well, they deserve it. When you commit felonies, you understand it is the act of a felony is punishable by death in that moment. It is lethal force is justified. If someone's robbing, killing, murdering, raping, stealing, kidnapping, any of these things, even if it's it's just property. Well, that property, that person had to give their life to get that house or that car or their whatever it is. You don't have a right to break because your First Amendment, Second Amendment, and your Fourth Amendment. You have a right to personal property and the pursuit of happiness. Well, I'm not too happy going to work, getting taxed, buying something, and you stealing it. Oh, you're just
Right.
gonna steal it?
Well, they say, "Oh, is your TV really worth?" So, yeah, because I had to work for that. You know.
Well, it's not just the TV. How do you know after they take the TV, they're not going to light your house on fire? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? You don't have a contract with a criminal breaking into your house, right? Going, we're just going to take the 50 inch. Oh, that's it. All right, that's it. Okay, that's it.
Right. No, you can have the 50. Just leave the 70.
Yeah, yeah, you get it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hold on. Disconnect my Xbox. I have the game saved. Come on,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, that's what I'm saying though. So it's it's
So what
we
else? What else do you like to do besides cigars? There.
not much. I just go to work, come home. Um, I try to have sex at least 3 to 4 times a week. That's it. That's my goal. I keep it like that. I'm gonna be 40 years old. I'm not slowing down, man. And I always tell my missus, I said, if you're gonna close the kitchen, I gotta go eat. And I said, oh, I mean, I tell her because once you drop the bar, I said, no, look, like I'm not, listen. If you don't give it to me, if you want me to be monogamous, like it's one thing, if she's on the red, but even if she's that time of the month, there's other options. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not because if you want me to be my only one stop shop, you got to be you got to I can't. I'm not going to suffer. You know what I'm saying? Though I have one life. And so yeah. So that's it. I go to work, come home, I take 2 showers a day. I smoke cigars with the guys. Go to the gym here. I don't train crazy anymore because of my neck damage. But just stay strong. That's it. And that's pretty much it. And I'm crazy, man. I don't drink. I have like one drink, so I'm not a drinker, but I'm not against alcohol. But I believe in specific limitations. For me, only because I'm almost 40 and I've seen the effects of alcohol. And when I say effects, if you're drinking like a 6 pack a night, it's going to be bad for you. If you're drinking, a 12 pack on the weekend consistently and you're 40 years old, it's going to have side effects. It's not fun.
Dude, I got a couple coworkers, and they're Bohemian. We call them Bohemians, and man, they can pound them. And he's a farmer. He's a landowner. He comes to work, I'm just sitting here like I'm not in. I'm like I'm fat guy, right? And I know I need to lose some weight, and I'm just like, how the fuck do you do? I mean, he's got 7 kids. He's got like 4 younger ones. I'm like, how do you do all this stuff? But for me, like I can't drink liquor anymore. I very rarely do. Certain occasions, certain people, but I had, COVID was kind of a bad time for me, and I kind of just hit the bottle pretty hard, and a couple occasions, and my wife's like, you can't get drunk anymore, and so that's my main thing. I'll have a couple beers, but I just can't get drunk because it's
Well,
a bad place for me, and alcoholism runs in my family.
you got a kid's house responsibility. If you got drunk tonight and in the middle of the night, God forbid, a fire alarm goes off or carbon monoxide or someone's breaking in, you are the first line for everything, right? If a tornado alarm goes off, you got to be, So like the Bible talks about being sober. It doesn't say you can't have a drink, but they
Right.
always talk about not getting shit faced. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Christ turned water to wine, but he didn't say you got to drink the whole barrel. You know what I'm saying? Though,
Right.
difference
And I
between
got to be honest too. I'm not 21 anymore. I can't do hangovers.
yeah,
It takes me 3 days to recuperate.
yeah, no, and dude, and I'm not sure what you do for a living, but if you have any job that requires any kind of physical labor, you're hurting, bro. Like if you're doing a desk job, it's what. But if you got to go
You
to
know what I
work,
do for a living? I'll tell you. I got a really cool job, but I love it and I hate it at times. I make bombs for the military.
so you work for a contractor. That's cool.
Yep. So I work for a contractor, and we make like
And keep the name private. So you work
no,
for.
I don't say that. No, but we make stuff that goes to we're making stuff that goes to Ukraine. We make aircraft parts. We make stuff that goes into space.
Interesting.
We
So
do
you work
all sorts of stuff.
DoD defense contractor.
Yeah.
That's a fucking badass job, man. You probably got great benefits, good vacation time, right?
Yep. We got good benefits, good vacation. I'm coming up here. I'll get one. I got to go one more year, and then I'll have another. I'll have a third week of vacation, so that's nice.
How long you been doing that, and how'd you get into that business?
So actually, I've been doing it for this June will be 4 years. And when I moved back from Washington, I ran a business with a friend of mine. We had a pest control. We did focus a lot on bed bugs. And it was really good. We had a really good like 9 months, and then winter came, and it got so slow, and we were, it was really hard for me to go make $1,400 a month, and so it came down. I ended up, we ended up parting ways, and he got a divorce too. So he kind of gave the business to his ex-wife, and I didn't really want to work for her anyway. So I just started putting out random applications, and I put in a random application to this place. I gotta be honest. My story is when I got this job, I didn't even remember applying. The HR called me at like 7:30 on a Sunday night, and she's like, "Oh, hi, blah blah blah. Can you come in for an interview?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I said, "I'm probably going to be covered in grass because at the time I was working for my landlord, who's my best friend, and he has a couple $1 million in property, but he also contracts for other land property owners, and so I just worked for him, so I had money coming in." And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Hey, I'm just gonna let you know, I'm probably gonna come from work. I'm gonna be covered in grass probably." She says, "That's fine." And so I went in there. I talked to her for like 5 minutes, and then I ended up talking to the hiring manager. And I've always had this knack, like if I actually go to an interview for a job, I've always got every job I've ever interviewed for. And my secret, and if everybody needs to know this, you got to figure out something really quick that the interviewee is into. And so I figured out that my interviewer was into hunting, and I was just starting to get into hunting. And so we talked about hunting for 30 minutes. He only interviewed me for like actually 5 minutes. And I've been there ever since.
Once someone
So,
likes you, you're in. You know what I'm saying,
right.
though? I can't stress it enough. Because once you have something in common with someone, they 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 don't fear you. They feel like a trust level where they're like, all right, you know what I'm saying?
I'll give him a chance. Yeah. Yeah. So
That's
I've been
really cool.
there since, and it's been good. I was able to we bought a house. Uh, 2020 we bought our house. I was able to buy my wife her nice little car that's sitting there, a little Honda.
So
And then
you live in the American dream, man. I'm so
yeah,
happy. Bro.
it's the American dream is it's all about hard work. And that's one thing I try to instill in my kids. My kids, they like to do the whole play on their phone. Like my son has a phone, and he likes to do, he's into Pokemon right now, and my daughter's into other stuff, but they like to watch TV and YouTube and all that stuff. But one thing, they don't like it, but I always make sure, if I'm out in the yard working, that's family time for me. So like, get your asses outside. If mom, my wife does have to work weekends on some once a month, but if she's home, and especially fall, summer, spring, not so much in the winter, but we're always doing something outside in the backyard. And she has a big garden, so she's always checking on the garden. The dogs are outside, but I always try to instill that in my kids, because nothing in life is free. You're never going to get anywhere if you don't work for it.
You
Like
got, you got to earn it, man.
you
You
got to
earn
earn it. Like
it.
I bought my truck, and like right now, I'll tell you, unless you really want a truck or something, interest rates are horrible right now. But that is what it is. But yeah, you gotta work hard and earn it. And if you don't work hard, don't expect anything else to come back to you in life.
No, I'm so happy, man. You got that. And what kind of commute do you have?
Like 20 minutes, I drive from one side of town to the other.
That's not bad at all, man. And what kind of shift are you doing?
First shift, so I'm up at 5. I actually go in about 15. I start about 15 minutes before everybody else does, because I get off every day to go pick up my kids. My wife takes them to school, and I pick them up. So
That's a nice life, man. That's a nice life you got there. And so you're in what I call traction. All you gotta do is just not stop the traction. Don't fuck it up. And that's all you gotta do is keep that nice steady motion. And that's why I tell people keep yourself in check, because you could have one bad day and ruin your life. Let's say whether it's drinking or you get into an argument at work and it gets heated. Like so, go doing good things in life. You could build your reputation, but you could take one day and ruin it. You know what I'm talking about? And
oh yeah, oh definitely. I struggle with that at work sometimes, because I've let my anger like get the best of me there, and I've got some really good managers, even though I can be a pain in the ass, but they will always work with us, and that's why I like this place so much, is because they will work with you, and they don't they try to see the good in everybody. And, as they're looking at it from the business point, right? We're looking at it from the employee side. We may not see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, you know, it's the one of the reasons why I like this job is because I don't think I've really had a job. I've had one other job where I would go out with coworkers, go get a beer after work. But a lot of places aren't like that. And when you have a tight knit group of people, like I got one of my coworkers right now, his wife has breast cancer, and she's been fighting that for like 6 months. And I'll tell you what, when he got that phone call, man, that tore me up because he's a former Marine. He has been through hell and back. You yourself, you're a Marine, and he did some stuff, and he's messed up, and he's one of those people you're like, fuck, your wife does not deserve cancer. You know what I mean? And that tore me up. And so, we came together for him, and just support each other through whatever ups and downs, and you know, so
That's nice. You got camaraderie like that at work, and you can take care of each other, and that's a good feeling when you care about the people you work with.
yeah.
Uh,
I like
there's an
to say I just got elected to I just got elected, and I'm not even a massive pro union guy, but I got elected to be a steward in the shop. And I tell everybody, I'm like, I like, guys, we some days we all want to kill each other. We don't get along, and we'll be yelling at each other, and the next and but don't fuck with us, because if you fuck with me, Jeff and I might have been just yelling at each other 10 minutes ago, but guess what? We'll work it out, but don't mess with us, because we will protect our own.
Yeah, no, that's nice, man. How big is your union?
It could be better. It could be better. I would probably say there's probably 150 people on the floor, and we kind of have a mix. I would say they lost some people because of former contracts that the old timers didn't like. So I would say right now we probably have 50 people in it. We're barely we're right at about 50, but we got a good group. I got another guy who's a real fighter, and then we got a budsman, and we have a new contract coming up next year, and so we're really pushing hard on everybody to join, and just create a better working environment for everybody. So
Did you have to do the nature of your work? Did you have to sign an NDA?
I don't. I think some of the engineers do, maybe, but I didn't.
Right, but
Not that I know of.
you want to keep it low key and keep it professional because you still always represent your job in a sense, whatever you're doing. So you know now in
Oh yeah.
this is that kind of job. Obviously, you can't have a record to work there or no.
You can actually you can have a record. We got guys with felonies, and I think it just kind of depends on what the crime was. I think I would say
Would that
probably
stop them from
HR.
getting management though?
We got one of the supervisors is a former felony, is a former felon.
Yeah, interesting. Sometimes people really do learn their lesson, and it's they don't want to go back. And I don't wish it upon no one, and that's why I tell people stay out of trouble before you get in trouble, and realize trouble's waiting for everyone. Don't think you're special. There's a prison cell and a judge and a DA waiting to throw your ass away and take away your rights. So
Yep.
that's go home or go to the cigar shop. Go spend $100. Go buy the best shit, and go. It'll be cheaper than a lawyer, and you'll wake up the next day with your job and your money and your life. You know what I'm
You
saying? No,
realize too, and I'm sure you've realized this too. We have got you will, as a man, you kind of go through, like, you got your party stage earlier in life, and then maybe you'll settle down with a wife or kids or something, and your circle just gets smaller and smaller. Like, on my Facebook, I probably have 500 people that I'm friends with, but I would probably say in real life, real close friends are less than 100, and out of that, I probably have 50, that I talk to regularly, and for me, I have a circle of friends, and I'm sure you've got some, you've got probably friends more back east than you do right in Colorado now, but
yeah,
you know how it is. Your life, as you grow older, your circle gets so much smaller.
in my stay here, like it's got me and my common law wife, and because that is a real thing out here in Colorado. So
Is
we are.
it?
Oh yeah, we have property together. We have bills together. We identify as a husband and wife, and you know, so therefore you're married by common law. If we broke up, if one of us wanted to, we could go for a divorce hearing. Um, but so yeah. So I mean, it's just Colorado is a common law state. People don't realize it's a true common law state. It could bite the guy in the ass though if, let's say, if you had a lot of money and then you break up. Well, then she could get a real divorce, and you could end up paying her alimony.
Right.
But I'm not worried about it. She makes her own money. We don't have nothing as far as financials together. Our bank accounts are separate. So I'm not not worried about that. And she's the way she is. God forbid, let's say we did break up. I said we are. She would just want us to move on, and I move on. The New York mentality is like, I'm gonna sue you. Oh, what am I gonna get out of it? Like the girls in New York are really, and the system is really geared to the feminist movement in New York. New York is like probably the worst place to get. New York and California. You get divorced in New York, California. You're gonna
Why
take.
does the system hate men? Why is that?
I'll
Whether
tell
it's
you why.
divorces, whether it's kids, why does it hate men?
I'll get to it. And it's biblical because they hate God, and God is a man. God, they hate the patriarchy. They hate the man. Our world was built by men. How many women do you think build the roads? How many women tame the area of wild animals so that you
None.
could build a society? How many
Right.
women are really protecting the society? I'm talking about real. If an invasion happened, you think this would be a bunch of 100-pound women? Like I mean, like a whole division of just women? No, they're within with the guys, and they're protected by the guy. You get what I'm saying, though? How many women are pulling wire and built the electrical grid and going up there and
And
service?
there's so very few that actually do that. And but the thing is, when you do find a woman who does do that,
Yeah.
she has earned the respect,
Oh
and
yeah,
and she's
yeah.
had
If
to fight,
if
and she's
they're
had to work 10
doing work,
times harder.
if they're doing equal work, I respect that. But
Right.
I've never seen, like, let's say a plumbing emergency, and you got a plumber coming at 2 in the morning, and Stacy's coming to take care of your sewer. You know what I'm saying? It's not really, you know what I'm saying, though. Like, it's gonna be Bob or Frank. You know what I'm saying? A shit is full. All right, gotcha. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Let me take care of that.
So they
All
hate
right.
the.
So I got one for you. So
You get.
we got an engineer at work, and tell me how common this is in New York. So her father was a firefighter. He was like the first job he ever had out of high school. Uh, she, uh, she says he's a Guido through and through.
Mhm.
But anyway, he's a firefighter. He got out right before 9/11. He goes back after 9/11, helps, does all that stuff. Then he re-retires again, or whatever he was volunteering or whatever. And now he has a whole nother. He's a salesman. Is that common for people out there to
If
buy
you
eight
stay in
have
New
the
York, you
car
first of all,
years
the hustle
before
doesn't stop. You can make the most money in New York, but also it's going to cost the most money. You can't. You do 20 years as a cop or a fireman and retire and stay in New York, unless you have no kids and you're going to downsize, or you're a dirty cop and you made a lot of money on the street that no one knows about. The only people I know that, let's say, retire from like a fire department or a cop and stay in New York, if they got like a 3/4 pension, so that's non-taxable, they get 3/4 pension, and then they get Social Security early, and they get $1,700 a month, no, $850 a month per kid, for Social Security until their kids are 18. Then yeah, sure, whatever. But like most people, you do your 20 years, you get out. Let's say you're 42 years old, you get out, you're a fireman, retired. You can't stay in New York City or Long Island unless cover your nut. If you have
they
only
moved to
Long
Pennsylvania.
Island,
They moved to Pennsylvania when she was younger.
yeah. Property taxes in Long Island are like 15,000, 20,000 a year. So you retired, that's half your pension. Let's say your pension. Let's say you're making 85 grand as a city cop. Now your pension's 42,000. Well, half of that's going to your property taxes. How are you going to live? And you're
Right.
not getting security at 42. So you got to get out. But if you stay in New York, yeah, you got to get another job. And now your life is easy because you might get another job for less money, but you can chill out and you got your nice fat check coming in, and so you're fine. But you can't retire. My dad retired from Long Island and he got out. He went to Florida. Why? Sold his house for a lot of money, and then his nut in Florida is like $1,200 a month. He has a nice condo on the water near Miami. That's it. He gets his 5 checks from the union. The local, the international, his annuity, his Social Security, whatever. And he's just. But if he stayed in New York, you know what I'm saying? Though it's so expensive. Long Island, New York City, it's criminal. It's criminal. It's a great place to live, Long Island, but the Democrats have ruined. I could say that because and what's funny is Long Island, Nassau County, and Suffolk County went completely red, but because of New York State, because of New York City, it's still a liberal state and the governor. Meanwhile, upstate New York and Long Island has probably some of the most pro-gun people you ever met, but they're so limited because of the stupid fucking laws. But they all
Let's
got
take
shot.
Washington. If you ever look at like the voting stuff in Washington, so you got a strip that goes basically from the border of Canada to the border of Oregon, where you got Seattle, you got Tacoma, you got all those little towns in there, Olympia, and it goes from, like I said, from the border of Oregon, and there's just this blue strip. But there's so many fucking people there, they outweigh the rest of the state. And so, you're exactly right. Like it's sad because, like, I'm sure you love New York, right? There's things you love about it, but then it's like you can't, like, for me, when my wife and I finally decided to move, like, a big thing is we want to buy a house. And we're like, we couldn't afford to buy a house there, right? So we're like, we're gonna move back to Nebraska where I'm from. And we bought a house within a year and a half of being back. And but you just sit there and you're like, I can't afford to do that. And then people ask me, well, why'd you move? And I said, well, two things. One, to buy a house, and I couldn't stand the politics. Like, why am I paying so much in taxes?
Policies can get you killed. Those policies can get you killed. So it's like, same thing like in Colorado compared to New York. Here, I can stay strapped all the time, protect myself, protect my missus, and I'm not worried about wherever I go. Whereas in Long Island, now granted, again, I have my kid there, but I have no rights. But even there, as a single man, right, unless you have a pistol license, and even then, that's revocable at any time, and it's really not really a true carry. It's technically only now it's changed. Now it's changed. But before I left, it was only carry to and from the range. So you only have to carry the
Right.
gun. So you join. Then the way around it is you join a 24-hour gun club. But even then, good luck. Because why are you at Walmart? Oh, I'm buying. What I'm saying? Like they could get you for anything. So what's up, Atlanta? So Long Island, it sucks when it comes to protecting yourself. And even then, the mentality of the cops and the DAs out there, they're so arrogant. You know what I'm saying? Though, and the cops have a real ego in New York because not upstate, but the cops in Long Island and New York City, because they're like made men, the mafia. So to them, it's like only they should have handguns, and carry them, protect themselves. Whereas everyone
Right.
else, like, okay, you can go to the range, you little pissant. You know what I'm saying? Though, and so the people there aren't looked as equal citizens. Out here, the cops are like, I met cops at gun stores, and like, meanwhile, the guy at the gun store is like getting the silencers for his select fire AK, and like, oh, cool, you know what I'm saying? But like in New York, it's like, why do you need that? Why you can't even have that there? I'm saying, like, why do you need this semi shotgun? Why do you need this, neutered AR? Like, that's so scary. It's a 10-round mag, it's a fixed buffer stock, you can't even collapse. It has no flash high, it's neutered as fuck, it's everything there. They view you as a peasant. And going back to what we talked about before about the patriarchy, so in those states, the man is bad. Why? Because a house without a father, right? You have no children. The children don't have the father, no discipline. Undisciplined children, men end up in prison or in the street.
Yep.
Disciplined girls end up either sadly on the street, whatever, Craigslist, Backpage, whatever, that sad shit, or they end up being just terrible single moms and they're getting EBT from the state, Section 8. The immorality of women in those states is it's profitable to go through men with different men and have 4 kids with different guys because they'll say, oh, you get more money because it's 17% in New York State for the first kid. But if you had 2 kids, then it's only 25 combined. So you're better having 17 and 17, so you get 34% of, you know what I'm saying? Though, so if you're loose and you get 4 kids from 4 different guys, you're getting 17% of each of those guys' salary. Where if you had 4 kids with one guy, it tops out, I think, at like 30 something percent. So
And then
and then
how do they expect a guy to live? Like, we got a guy
oh
at work.
no,
I don't even really like this
you
guy.
can't watch James Bond. I don't. I expect you to die, Mister Bond. They don't give a
Right. It's like
fuck.
there's a guy at work and he's gonna go through divorce, and we're all like, bro, like, I don't even really like this guy, but I'm like, man, I feel for him because he's about to get raked over the coals. And he thinks he's gonna skate by, but I'm like, bro, you worked like 800 hours of overtime. Like, you are gonna get raped.
And what's going to happen is they're going to look at his salary from
Yep.
that, and then they're going to set it up. Let's say he has 1 kid. Let's say it's 17, then 20% for the third, whatever it is combined. Whatever it is, then if he stops working the overtime, in New York State, it takes 3 years after once the announcement is set up. The first, let's say it's a $2,000 a month child support. you can't get adjusted for the first 3 years in New York State. So if your salary goes down, go. It's like
Right.
this. Goodfellas, fuck you, pay me. That's it. They don't care. And so then you'll just go in arrears, and then they're gonna freeze your driver's license, freeze your passport, like you're gonna go anywhere to France. They're gonna freeze your bank account, and then put a lien on your car, and then you're gonna go to county for 90 days every other month, and just they don't care.
All right. So you said God. So you said Goodfellas. Favorite mob movie? What is it?
I had to say, Godfather. My favorite mob situation still is The Sopranos, but I don't even watch The Sopranos like a mob show. I watch Sopranos as like it's more of just an Italian American show that has some mob elements in it. Because most of the
Right.
show is not about mafia. Most of the show is dealing with the family, dealing with the mafia with their social issues. Like one of my guys is into drugs, or one of my guys is a degenerate gambler, or one of my guys is a. So I like the Sopranos as far as the social issues and how does the mob deal with a modern era. That's why I love Sopranos. My favorite mob show in a sense. Godfather, I love. I love Scarface. All the classics. Casino, Goodfellas.
I
The
think for me, I agree. Like, I actually didn't watch The Sopranos until COVID, and then it was on HBO, and I'm like, oh, sweet, and I just binge watched that, and I loved it. And I'm a huge James Gandolfini fan. That guy was such a good actor, so good at it. Rest in peace, because man, that sucks. He couldn't get the help he needed. But I would say for me,
yeah,
it's Goodfellas. If that is on TV, I'm gonna watch it.
yeah.
Um, and honestly, it's going to be Goodfellas, and it's a tie for me for two of either Casino or Godfather 1. But the only problem I have with Godfather 1 is it's so good, but it's slow. And so you really have to be that you got to be really mellowed out for I have to be really mellowed out to be able to want to watch Godfather like 1 and 2.
You Godfather 1 and 2 movies. It's a masterpiece. It is a slow burn, but you have to watch every scene and realize they tell you things without telling you. It's a very intelligent film, and there's things you got to watch and you'll pick up. And like for example, in the first scene at the wedding, remember the guy? He's watching the wife put all the money in the bag, and he goes, "Madon, $10,000 in small bills in one bag. If this was any other wedding, sweet tonight." So what is he thinking, right? He's already thinking like some bad things, right? But he works for these people. But that's the guy. Remember, he called later on. They don't say it, but that's the guy later on. Remember, he called out sick the day the Godfather got whacked, and he didn't die though. And remember they took him, leave the gun, take the cannolis. Well, that's
I
that's the
didn't realize that.
that's the guy they whacked. Now that guy, obviously, in the beginning, if he's already talking about he's not happy with the family, and he's watching the family, this woman get $10,000 or more than that in wedding money, right? Um, why would he call out sick on the same day the boss got whacked? Somebody paid him off. So my
Yeah.
point, that's why James Caan's like, he's like, where was his bodyguard? Oh, he was sick. He has the flu. And he's like, that motherfucker's been sick for whatever. And then he came back to work. He's like, you all right? You sick? You want a drink or something? And he's like, no, I'm fine. He's blowing his nose. And then that's where he goes. He takes him for a ride, and they whack him. I think out in Staten Island, and they leave the canola. They take the gun. Leave the cannolis. Take the gun. Point is though, right there, they put a little thing letting you know about his character. They never told you later on he got paid off, but I'm telling you, it's a very intelligent movie. Watch the movie again and look at the little details like that, and you realize like there's a lot of that going on. I just watched it. I just bought the DVD, the special edition, and which they had a revised version of Part 3, which was better. The Part 3 was still weak because it has loses continuity because you can't make Part 1 and 2 at the same time. They just split them in half and then wait 20 years and come back. You lose the element. You know what I'm saying? Though,
Right.
but what made
Right.
Godfather 1 and 2 so great was that Al Pacino was a nobody, and nobody wanted him in it. So he was hungry making that movie. Then you wait 20 years later, and now he's the biggest actor in the world, 1990s. It's not going to be the same. And he was still great.
Right.
But three had a lot of issues. The worst part of three was the daughter, and it wasn't even the director's fault. He put his daughter in the movie only because the person that was supposed to be in the movie pulled out at like the last second because they had
Really.
yeah. So like and so that's why she was the weakest part, and um, that's my biggest flaw in that movie is his daughter. His daughter was a terrible actress.
I was watching tonight was Heat, and I love that. Heat's a great movie. That's
That is one of
that's
the best. I wouldn't call it an action movie because it has action in it, even though it's some of the best scenes. But it's more of a drama, thriller movie. Because action movies, think Terminator 2 or Rambo, but that
right.
movie was very realistic, and the actions that scenes it had, it earned every second. Like that
So
was
you're a Marine. Tell me if this is true. I've seen this rumor before that their firing and retreat was so good that the Marines actually played the clip and say, "This is how you do it." Is that
I,
true?
that, but that would be before I was in it. I'm sure that could have been a situation, but that movie came out in the '90s, so I didn't
Did
go
it?
into 2002. So yeah, I never heard that, but that could have happened, here or there. But the movie was very realistic. Um, it was well done, dude. De Niro,
Val
Pacino,
Kilmer.
Val Kilmer nailed it too. When he had that G3 in the outdoor movie theater, remember the guy in the Dodge Ram,
Yep.
and then Tom Sizemore blew him away with the Benelli shotgun. That
Yeah.
whole every scene, and I hated Waingro, the serial killer. You know, remember
Right.
the like, look at me. He's on the couch, he just that was just a great movie, man. That Heat. Okay, if you liked Heat, know what you need to watch. It's on Tubi. Tubi is the free channel on TV. You can watch movies.
Okay.
TUBI. Just go on like the when you go on your smart TV, look up for Tubi. You'll probably have it. The movie called Thief. Have you ever watched the movie Thief?
Thief. No.
It's called The Thief. So okay, it's Michael Mann. It's like one of Michael Mann's first movies, and it has elements of the Heat in that movie. So
Really.
picture Michael Mann, much younger. It came out in 1980, and it was James Caan from The Godfather. And James Caan is a professional thief, ex-military guy, and it is a little bit of a slower burn, but it's so professionally done. This movie, um, I can't recommend that movie enough. It's just a really well done movie. Um, you would like that. It's kind of a little bit of a mob element in it, but watch it and you get to see like Michael Mann in his first movie, kind of with a lower budget, but it was still well done. The action was well done, and the firearm handling was well done. He was carrying a really nice long slide, 6-inch 1911 like Colt, which you never see like in a movie. And like it was just the way he pulled it out in the beginning, and like he had like a chair and had a false seat, and he just opened the chair and he had a whole bunch of guns in the chair. It was just pretty cool. Like it's little details like that, And I would say I'd recommend The Thief, because you can see Michael Mann has he's an artist first,
He
and
is.
he made Miami Vice. That was his great, tour de force, and then Heat was his greatest movie. But Miami Vice, his art with colors, Michael Mann could make anything into art. Like he can make the cities and the streets become like part of the movie. Like you watch Miami Vice and the color blue and pink is like Miami Vice changed the whole culture. I talked to my uncles from back then in the '80s, and dude, guys would dress like Miami Vice. Like he changed culture.
Yeah.
Guys dress like
A
Miami
good movie. A good movie. A good movie will change culture.
Vice. Dude. But Miami Vice was the first TV show to have montages with like actual songs on the radio. MTV was just coming out, right?
Right.
1984. So that in the first episode, he's driving the Ferrari, and it's at night, and it has the Phil Collins in the air tonight. I can feel it coming, but it just has a whole 5-minute scene of him driving around Miami, and all the colors of the car, like the lights bouncing off the car and everything, and with that song on, the drum beat starts off in the beginning of "In the Air Tonight."
Right.
It's that. My point is like so many other people try to copy that after that. Like it was ballsy to put like a montage of music that's on the radio and make it part of. You felt like you were in the scene if you were alive at the time. Like so it's like oh yeah, I drive to that song too. Like
Right.
think about that. Like no before, no one done that. Or who would put a 5-minute screen time with no talking? Yeah, it's a montage. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? The '80s had the best. Look at Rocky. The best parts of Rocky is when he's training with the montage. You know what I'm saying though? It's the eye of the tiger. When he's training, eye of the tiger. He's driving
Yep.
around.
Yep.
You
Running
know,
around. Right. Yep.
you know,
Hey, another movie you might like. I think it's on Netflix. Is Wind River. It's got Jeremy Renner in it. It's really good. He's a like a wildlife. He.
I saw it. I saw it in Alaska. It was fucking brutal. It was a good movie.
Yeah, it's a brutal movie, but great. I just watched that the other day, and I was like, wow, that's a good movie.
Yeah, dude. When those guys, those druggies, were blasting through the little trailer door and like that, and they're following the blood trails, you really
Yep.
felt like isolated in that movie. Like Like when you get to that cold weather and that much snow,
You know who directed that
oh,
was Taylor Sheridan. He was the guy who's doing Yellowstone, and he was the sheriff in the first couple seasons of Sons of Anarchy. He's I haven't really got into Yellowstone mainly because I don't have Paramount, but
it is a great show. I
yeah,
watched like 5 episodes on a flight. Um, I went from New York to Colorado, and I'll tell you what, man, the production quality was fantastic.
my
You
wife
know,
when we really started to watch the 1893 or 1883 whatever that is, and then we got like a couple more episodes of that to finish up, and then she wants to move on to the 1923 or the prequels they're all doing now,
I
and
never heard of that shit.
yeah, it's like the prequel. So the it's like how like 1883 I think is how Yellowstone started. It's like the founder of the ranch, the Dutton Ranch.
Oh, okay. Cool,
And
cool.
then 1923 I think is what it is the next series. They're just little mini series, and that's like the next generation of the family, and really good. I like a good I really like a good story, but I'm a sucker for a western. I like grew up on cowboys and Indians, and John Wayne will always be the greatest cowboy ever. I don't care what anybody says. Um, but
No, I went growing up. A lot of Clint Eastwood, Fistful of Dollars, and all that. Dude, I love Clint Eastwood, man. Like I could
I
watch.
love Clint Eastwood too, but they're two different. They're two
No,
different types.
Clint Eastwood was more different times. You're talking about the 40s, 50s, and 60s with
With Wayne,
um,
yep,
but he started off in the 60s, late 60s, 70s, and he was Clint Eastwood. It was a darker time. It was more violent. His movies, a little more realistic. You know what I'm saying? Though,
yep,
it wasn't like the hero. He was like an anti-hero. You know what I'm saying? Though,
yeah.
it was, you know,
Pale Rider is probably my favorite. One of my favorite Clint Eastwoods.
I don't know if I ever saw that one.
That's a good one. Pale Rider. And let's see, Fistful of Dollars is good.
Oh, that whole series was great. What's the other one he did? When he was a Civil War veteran, and then but the people who he's with, he actually left his people because the general was out of his mind, and the war was over, but he still killed all the Southern soldiers that surrendered. They surrendered and they wiped them out. Remember, they had the minigun, the Gatling gun. Uh, in,
What was that? Um, Drawing a blank.
I think the name started with a J. Josie Wales.
Josie Wales.
Bro, that was a great movie. That was a violent, brutal movie, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Josie Wales was brutal, man. That was
Yep.
good movie. I like that one, man. That was had some wet. I like old Chuck Norris movies too, man.
Yeah. Lone Wolf. Didn't. Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm a sucker for anything Charles Bronson. I just watched a bunch of Charles Bronson movies on Tubi, and besides, he had a lot of movies like where he's obviously a dirty cop, but there was other movies where he wasn't a cop, but he got involved in situations. One, he was like a reporter. I just watched one today, bro. Check this out. He's a melon farmer. He's a melon farmer, I think in Colorado or somewhere in the Midwest, and he has 168 acres. And he hires some locals from the town, mostly Mexican workers, and they're going to work on his farm. He's like, all right, it's a harvest season. We got to get all these melons to farm, to town to sell. And while he's picking the melons, this like other guy showed up, this white guy, and he's like, "You're going to use my people." And he's like, "I already hired these people for the day." He's like, "I don't
right.
get." It turns out they get into an altercation and a shotgun, whatever. So he gets arrested, and while he gets arrested, while they're transporting him in the county jail, there's a mob guy there that got tied up and got arrested. He's a hitman. Of course, when he's going county, what happens? The mob shows up, wipes out the sheriff's department, and it becomes like a deeper story. The point is, though, it goes from a melon farmer to like he's like, I just want to go back and pick my fucking melons. Like it's just like, dude, I was like, where they go? The movie starts off so like rural, like he's just like, I just want to pick these melons and sell them and go back home to Sally and raise my family. And then it's just like the melon farmer. And then he becomes like John Wick, and you're like, whoa, bro. They were
Right. Do you like Charles Bronson? Did you see the more updated version? And it's still probably 10 years old by now of Death Wish.
what do you mean updated? I didn't know they made that.
They made a newer Death Wish, and it had Kevin
Oh,
Bacon in it.
yes, but then there was also one with Bruce Willis. Yes, I did see those.
The Bruce Willis one I didn't think was very good, but the
No.
one with Kevin Bacon was really good.
Yeah, that's where they killed his family, his
Yep.
son.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was with John Goodman as the gun dealer.
Yes.
He was just like a big fat guy. He's like, "What do you want?" And then he just opens up. He's like, I need guns. Like he's just, you know, he's like, oh, 357 Magnum. Yeah, it's just that was I like that. John Goodman, you know, he lost weight since then, but he was just sitting there and he's just like, take whatever. Remember, he had a bunch of money. He's like, what can I get for this? He's like, whatever you want.
Another good one, a movie you might like, and it's on Netflix too. It's called The Shot Caller. You ever seen that?
Yeah, that was in Australia. That was the guy went to jail, and then he got
And
caught
then
up.
and the Aryan Brotherhood, yep. And then and got out, and then
What
he went in there for like that manslaughter, or no, he was drunk driving and somebody got killed.
was Val Kilmer in that one? Which prison movie had Val Kilmer in prison already? Oh, that was with a different guy. That was with who's the guy from Blade? Remember the guy from Blade that played the bad guy in Blade One, the white guy? There was a movie. Okay,
Carl Urban.
well, if you look up the guy from Blade, if we get his name and go to IMDb, it was a movie in the mid 2000s. He's like a construction worker, and in the beginning of the movie, he's in California, and somebody breaks into his house. Well, he shoots the guy, but the one guy got shot in the back, so he goes to jail for like manslaughter. So while he's in jail, though, it just escalates. And Val Kilmer, I believe Val Kilmer plays like the shot caller in there, and like an Aryan dude, and like it's a brutal fucking movie. If anyone, if that movie, if you like that, it's on the same lines, you'll love that movie. And I can't remember. He was like an innocent guy. He was just protect. He had a business, and it makes sense in California. These guys broke in, but oh no, he shot him in the back,
Right.
and he goes to jail, and it just goes from there. And he goes to I can't remember the name of the movie. If anyone out there could look it up, I thought it was Val Kilmer, and Val Kilmer played like a brutal like Aryan Brotherhood, like that kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? No, just I don't know. I miss Val Kilmer, man. That guy got really sick, and it's sad to see where he's at right now.
That was cool that Tom Cruise put him into the Maverick movie, which I
Yeah.
still haven't seen.
Well, that was the best movie of 2022.
Was it?
I'm not lying. Like I don't just say something's really good. That movie was fantastic. That movie just like the music, the movie, the fact that Tom Cruise was really flying these fighter jets
Yeah.
blows my mind.
Oh, he's a massive. Like he's 60 something. He does his own stunts, you know, like in Mission Impossible when he was hanging off the side of a plane. That's actually him. When he jumped off a building and was supposed to jump onto the roof, another one, he his ankle like
Yeah,
completely just rolls in half, breaks it in half. You
and the
know,
guy
that
like one of the fastest people on earth. When that guy runs, you can't believe how fast he
yeah.
runs.
And he to watch I've watched some of the behind the scenes stuff. I just haven't seen the movie. Like they were training, so they did a lot of training up in Washington and Lake Chehalis. They did a lot of their flying up in there, and they're for the smaller planes when they started them out. And I have a friend that was up there because he got some property up there, and he's like he just watched them for several days up there, and he says it was just amazing to watch those guys up there fly because that's all real. You know, they're flying the plane. You know, it might be tricky camera angles at times, but still, they're the ones. I mean, you know how much. I mean, movies are cost millions and millions of dollars to make, but you know how much the insurance they're gonna have to carry on an actor, to fly a F-16,
Yeah, and flying off a fucking an aircraft carrier and everything. Dude, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
Fucking nuts that he made that movie because
yeah,
there's no reason to do it except to keep it real, And it was such a that movie I gotta watch again. That's something I'd say is worth buying. Um, uh, One of the most incredible stunts I thought he did was in part five. Remember when he's swimming, dude? He was underwater for like minutes.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, and then
bro,
he's one of the only civilians to do a halo jump
yeah,
in real life. And they did that in Saudi Arabia, and they could only do it like once a day to get the shot that they wanted. And it was millions of dollars. And just the amount of training like the Navy SEALs go into to do a halo jump. And you got Tom Cruise. Like the guy is literally living 98% of American men's dreams,
yeah. Oh, how about the new one, part seven now, or is it eight? What's the new one? Is it up to seven? Or
I don't know. They've got so many of those now.
no? But I saw the stunt for the new one, and he does a high dive out of a helicopter. Like he's like leaning backwards. He's like, "Hey, I'm Tom Cruise, and we're filming a stunt right now." And like he just drops out of a helicopter. I
Oh,
mean,
I
like,
saw that. I saw that
yeah.
on TikTok, I think.
But then what about the motorcycle? This motherfucker drove the motorcycle off that ramp. Did you see that? Off the ramp and then went into a parachute dive off a ramp. And he did it like 26 times to get it right. Like, dude, that's like 26 motorcycles they destroyed to go, because the motorcycle doesn't make it, Yeah, Felon. There's a movie called Felon, bro. You have to watch this movie, Felon.
Felon? I'll look it up.
There's a regular guy in California, and he's self defense, and he goes, dude, you don't want to be a felon in California and go to prison. Like, as if you're just like a regular guy and then you go to prison, like the prisons in California are really violent, bro. Like, yeah, like,
That was actually one of my jobs in my former. That's a job I had. I was a correctional officer in Nebraska, and I will tell you that uh, I'm blessed because at one point in my life, I kind of had to make that choice of what I was going to do, and after my dad died, and I was kind of a crazy teen. My mom sent me away, and there was probably a chance and a point in my life where I could have probably started to head down that road, and I'm glad I didn't because watching some of those guys in there, and they're just like, what are you in here for? And he's like, well, I started. You talk to him, and they're like, well, I was kind of a troubled teen, and I just kept getting more trouble and more trouble, and it's like now you're spending 30 years in jail.
that's it.
And like there was one guy, like one of the jobs I had for a little while was I would we had a porter that cleaned the captains and lieutenants offices. So and he would do that after everybody would, I think he would do that at like, well, he would start at probably 9 o'clock. By the time I got there at 10 o'clock, then he'd be finishing up, and I would go and help him finish up, and then I would escort him back to strip search him, escort him back to his cell and stuff. And I was eating a sandwich one day, and we are just talking, and he's like, "Well, where's that from?" I'm like, "Well, it's from Subway." And that's when it really dawned on me. He was serving a life sentence, and he'd never fucking heard of Subway, never had a Subway sandwich. And I'm just sitting there eating this fucking, cold cut combo sandwich and drinking my drink. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. He ain't going nowhere.
No. Nope.
That's gotta suck, man. There's no cigars in prison. There's no women in prison.
Well, there is. This is 2023. You can be whatever you want.
yeah, but you don't get women wanting to be men going to men prison. You get men that are women going to women prison.
Yeah.
Why would a woman?
And then all of a sudden you have a female inmate who's mysteriously pregnant right after somebody gets transferred there. Oh, I wonder why.
Bro, yeah, I saw a thing. A guy knocked up 6 women.
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, a woman could have they call it a female penis now.
This
is the world we live in, man. I don't even want to think about it. Like, it just blow. Like, dude, every commercial I see on TV now is for an AIDS commercial. Why?
You know why? I'll tell you why. Because they pay. Like you watch, like I don't watch the news. I'd like to read. I will read the news, but I don't watch it. But even if you get Fox on your phone or you get CNN and you're reading through it and there's an ad in there, 9 times out of 10 it's a pharmaceutical ad because they pay. And it's just like that's all it is pharmaceutical ads for something. That's all it is.
Oh, I agree with you. What I'm saying is, for the type of commercials, when I was growing up, they would never show 2 dudes kissing, and they're like, "If you got AIDS, take this pill," and you're like, "Bro, like what?" Like, dude, it was just. Did you see? Okay, I know you probably didn't, because I was watching one of these conservative shows, and he was talking about this new music video that came out by this guy Sam Smith. I don't like his music. So, like, we can't believe they put this out. It's not even restricted, and kids are watching this music video. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. They're these. It's just like 100 dudes in the whole video in thongs, and they're all humping each other, and they're simulating pissing in each other's mouths. And I'm like, how is this on TV? Like, how? And I picture when I grew up in the '80s, like what was risque for then, and you know what I'm saying, though?
Right.
Like,
Like when I grew up in the 90s, like I grew up in an Adventist household and a very strict mom, and like The Simpsons was like the worst thing ever, right? And now it's like fuck, I let my kids watch The Simpsons. You know what I mean? Like
going to church now. Compared to that, dude, I'm talking about. Dude, I watched the video one time and I sent it to the guys in the link, busting balls, and I'm like, I can't believe this is on TV. Like,
right.
like
And we wonder why we want, and I really truly believe this. You know, like so like men are very visual, and most men are fairly sexual. You know, humans are sexual, right? But I think we've over sexualized everything, right? And as a society, we are so over sexualizing our children, like, and we wonder why kids are the way they are. You know, like we
It's
wonder.
all programming, bro. They're teaching. I just saw this article today saying, I forget what state it was, that um, uh, parents are in this state are deciding what's if their kid is going to be. I don't want to use the certain names that we call 451, but if their child is 451 from birth, how would you know you have a 1 hour old baby and you're like, yeah, he's ABC 1 2 3, and you're like, he's an
Right,
hour old. Like, are you
right.
kidding? Like, okay, if the kid wants to grow up and be whatever he wants to be, that's his business when you're an adult. What does a 1 hour infant, like, you're telling
I'm
me,
scared as a parent. I'm scared now because they're in New York, and of course it's the more democratic states. You're seeing schools that say, oh well, if your child identifies as this, then we're gonna treat them like that, and we don't have to tell you as the parents. And I'm like, the fuck you do. Number one,
that
and number
yeah,
two, the schools
the
will help
teachers
your child
about
transition
sex.
and do all that stuff. And I'm like, no, like I believe that parents should be the ones to talk to their kids about, sex, not the
Dude,
school.
it's still illegal for strangers to be talking to kids about sex in any these are children. That's called the
Right. They're children.
delinquency of a minor. A 5-year-old doesn't need sex ed. And dude, they're teaching
No.
these kids botcherous things. I'm talking about like double-sided dildos in elementary school. What would a
Yeah.
teacher need to teach your kids about that? Why?
Right.
Why? Why?
You don't. And I've got some friends of mine, and they're a lesbian couple, and they're very nice ladies, and we have a good relationship. They used to be my neighbors, and but something that has always like kind of frustrated me with like the gay community as somebody who didn't always, I don't necessarily, I don't I, as somebody who has tried to become more understanding of it. The thing I don't like is is and I realize that it's not everywhere, but the whole pushing the like the oh, what's the word I'm trying to think of, the drag queen story time where they're reading such highly inappropriate books to children. And like, why do you need a drag queen to have a story hour at school? Like
Yeah.
I don't get that, and I
The
don't like that.
if you want to grow up and do that, it's your business. But it's such a small percentage fringe of society that
Right.
children are very impressionable. Like, why would you?
Yes.
And so, on top of that, I seen in Texas they brought kids to a drag strip show, and the kids were
Yes,
putting
I saw that.
they were giving dollars to the drag queen. Dude, that is delinquency of a minor child endangerment.
I've seen parents do that. Like, like I've seen, oh, there's nothing wrong. You don't see anything wrong with a bunch of adults who are at a bar drinking, and you have a child there, and he is shaking his dong. And
Yeah,
if you want to go to a drag show, whatever, do your thing. But there does need to be kids there.
we shouldn't even have to even explain this. And it's Christina Aguilera did a concert in L.A. last year where she was wearing like a 14-inch green strap on, and she's singing. And they said, "Oh, it was a great festival for," and there was families there with kids, bro. Like, what does that have to do if you're in front of kids, even if you're in front of adults? If I'm going to a rock concert and they all start wearing dongs, I'm out of there. Like, we gotta
Right.
go. I'm out. I'm out. Like, this is not like
And that's our job, and that's the job of like the parents to be like, hey, this isn't acceptable. I keep a close eye on what my kids watch and what they do and what they play with, who they talk to, and all that. But like it's so hard because it's everywhere.
and they make it to be where if you say anything, oh, it's a hate. You're not hating on these people. There's a time and a place. Once you become an adult, and as long as
Right.
you're not one, you want to dress up like Hermit the Frog. It's none of my fucking business. It's weird, but whatever.
Right.
My
That's what
daughter,
I realized. That's what I've kind of come to my personal being, like what you do as adult is one thing, but until you're adult. And see, this is something else I don't understand is they say, you're adult at 18, but it's very clearly show that like boys do not, they're not fully matured until they're like 21. Their brain's not 21. So why are we saying people aren't adults till they're 21? especially boys. I can't remember what the age is for girls, but in my human psychology class in college, like it's very clear that boys do not fully mature, their brains are not fully developed till they're 21, but yet at 18 you can go start gender reassignment surgery and do that shit. And you can even start it sooner in some states, and the
That's all
state will
part of the
help you.
plan to lower the population because once these boys or girls start doing that and take these hormone therapy, which is they're making money, but once they start doing it at that young age, they can never have children.
Yeah.
So it lower the population. You know what I'm saying though? They they
Population.
they want to lower the population by any means necessary. Abortion didn't work, even though they're doing a lot of abortion. In their minds, they got to do more. So, dude, I've never seen. Uh, you see all these articles about these young people having heart attacks. I have never heard of growing up, and until 2 years ago. Since when do 10-year-olds have heart attacks playing wiffle ball? Heart attacks. It used to be like Uncle Bob had a heart attack. He was a Vietnam vet, smoked 2 packs a day, banging strippers, drank a
Right.
6 night. He lived a hard life. Oh, he was 61. Oh, he had a heart attack. Okay. At 10 years old, I saw this thing, a 15-year-old had a heart attack in choir practice. How hard was that hitting soprano?
Well, then
You know,
you got all these athletes too that have that these top of the line athletes who are all of a sudden dying on the field. They're collapsing all over and all in various sports, and you're just like, what is going on? And I think some of that is the side effects. I mean, I read the article. I don't want. I was one of the three major COVID ones, and now they're, oh yeah, now it has side effects. Well, we fucking told you that, you know.
yeah,
And then
dude.
you call us conspiracy theories and labels us as nuts and all this other shit because we're like, well, we don't want to do this. And oh no, it's safe. No, it's not safe. I don't care if the whole world worked on it. Like
We got
you can't tell me what the long term effects are going to be on something you don't know.
first off, those things didn't even work. Know many people that they had 3, 4 of those things and they still got sick. So
Oh yeah,
it doesn't work. Then, like I said, because that wasn't the plan for it ever to work. The plan is to get people sick and to lower the population. And a lot of people can't see it, or they don't want to believe it, or think it's possible. But the people that rule this world say it. It was in the Georgia Guidestones. Oh yeah, we got to get the population down to 500 million. Oh, what's his name? The guy from what's his name? Bill
Rothschild.
Bill Gates. Oh, we got to get the population down, and we're going to do it through vaccines. What? How, oh, what? You know, and you got to get how you get the population down through vaccines. Oh, real easy, and they're doing it, bro. The amount of deaths, like I was watching this thing in England per month. Like there's normal deaths from being old and sick, and then there's deaths from murder and car accidents and whatever. These are expected, but the amount of new deaths happening in the past year is so astronomical. uh, Unexplained deaths. And how come no one's talking about it? And I mean amongst and on top of that, they were talking about this thing in Australia. There were baby wards that like no one's having children. There are baby wards that didn't have any children for a month. There's no one having babies. The people are all sterile. And that was the other thing, these shots, it's making a lot of women sterile. It's all by design. It's all by design. They're making the people so even if you don't drop dead of a heart attack, there's more than one side effect. It's sterilizing our society, you know? Yeah. I can't stress it enough, man. Um, but wait, once again, we were conspiracy guys beforehand, and then afterwards, even though we're talking about the facts, did you watch the movie Died Suddenly?
No,
You
is
should
that
really
good?
want. It's a documentary, and they interview so many morticians and people that own funeral homes and people that do autopsies, and they're not reporting. They're like all these people. This has never happened before in the history of coroner's office, where they do autopsies and their internal the veins. What do you call where all the like for where strokes would happen and blood clots. Their
Right.
entire body was like a blood clot. Like it was like, and they couldn't even understand what was happening. So like when they would try to put the embalming fluid into the body, it wouldn't even go in. It wouldn't go through. Like they couldn't even understand what was happening. Like their whole body like hardened up. It was like sludge. What would cause that level? What would change? Okay, let's just play devil's advocate. What changed in the past few years?
Well,
You know,
90% of people got a shot.
well, there you go. I've never heard of people having heart attacks like in high school, elementary school, or
Right.
20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, unless you're talking about a massive drug addict, doing cocaine out of his mind every day and fentanyl, but whatever. But we're talking most people just living, normal life. No one, you know what
Right.
I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. Just this doesn't happen. People don't just drop dead. Like it's either a homicide or like or suspected. And who just drops dead at this level and no one talks about it? There you go. Uh, this is a society we're living in, And he said they inflated that number 90%. It's closer to 50-50. You know. Yeah. But yeah, blood clots. It's a real thing.
I'll have to check that out. What is it on Netflix or what?
Either that or Rumble.
Rumble.
Uh,
Okay.
on YouTube, or YouTube might have taken it down. You might have to watch it on the Rumble. Just
Okay.
look up. It's undeniable. And yeah,
It's
Rumble.
on
Yeah,
Rumble. Okay.
yeah. Definitely watch that tomorrow or tonight, whatever. I highly recommend it, man. What's your next adventure in cigars? Like, what are you looking to buy?
I don't know. I would probably say it's not necessarily cigars, but I want to get something nicer to put my cigars into, more of a display piece, a nicer humidor, I guess.
And what do you want to do? Like, go a certain brand or?
No, I don't know. I kind of I toyed around with one of the cigar ador humidor things, and I could never get it to quite work for me. But I would kind of like to get one of the like a glass one, with like a curio thing,
Hmm.
I've seen some guys who have taken an old one of those and redo the inside, put cedar in there, and then and do that. But you know, I for me cigars are I really don't necessarily I don't really always go to one thing except probably Warfighter. I will always have Warfighter. I did for me a cigar is just a relaxation tool. I can sit there whether I'm just scrolling YouTube or watching something on my phone or watching sports, it just requires me to sit there and relax and spend an hour,
Hmm.
whatever it is, and for me that's why I stay into cigars. So
When it comes to Warfighter, I know we talked about it. I knew they were Placencia for the longest time. Are they not Placencia anymore, or are they still
no,
on?
no.
So who they
They
go with?
moved. I don't remember when they did it. But who makes the chupacabra? Who is that? Um,
That was his name.
uh, Toronto Esteban Carrera.
So why'd they switch?
I don't know. I don't. Well, I don't want to say. I think it was because they just weren't quite happy with it with the Placencia. Um, and so they went over to Esteban Carrera, and I think they're a little bit better now. I really do.
Well, because when
Um,
it comes to Placencia, I always tell people when companies make cigars for themselves and other people, um, the priority is going to always be themselves. You know,
right.
so and I did like the ones with Placencia, but I didn't know that they maybe you're saying also maybe as time went on, maybe you're saying maybe the quality went down, or that's why they switched, or was it
Yeah, I
just
think a little bit. I think a little bit.
interesting?
And so I know they went. So now they went to Esteban Carreras, and if you
But
have
how
not got
same blends with the same
same
name, someone
same
else?
blend, same name, same, they haven't changed anything. I think the tobacco is just better in my opinion. Um, I will say if you have not got your hands on their new ones, you need to try to find their Hero Sports cigar. Really good,
I got.
really good cigar.
I'll have to order again because when I saw the same names, I'm like, well, okay, they must be still Placencia. So how could they? I guess they still have, I guess, the recipe, and they just told EP Grill, I'm sorry, Esteban Carrera, this is what we want, and he was able to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was.
Interesting. But in what ways would you say it's better though? Is it quality control, or is it
I think
availability?
quality control was a big one. There was a couple times where I kind of felt like they kind of were a little bland for a minute. You know what I mean? Like the flavor profiles just weren't there. And
That's
I'm sure there's other reasons too that we don't know about.
put a
But
cheaper tobacco in there, and and basically like play the fast one. Kind of like in the movies, we see the guy, hey, chop up the yayo with the baby food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
To
yeah,
increase profits.
yeah.
When you're not making your own cigars and have your own farm, you're at the mercy of your contractors. You
Yeah,
know,
and I can't speak for them. Obviously, I wonder maybe if that's a goal that John and Scott are trying to get to at some point. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how hard it. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I don't know if you already have your established brand. How hard is it to go out there and make another? Go make your own, grow your own farm and stuff. I don't know, but
it's a big investment, man. It's a lot of money, bro.
yeah,
Because when you're talking about the growing side, you can't just say, "Oh, we're going to grow it." By the time you grow the tobacco, age the tobacco, and everything else, you could be 3 years out at minimum. So, like, that means the cigar you're making now, you would have been stockpiling shit for 3 years. So, like, it's not like unless you're buying someone's supply, but you don't know how good that tobacco is or how well it was
right.
aged. So it's like it's a big investment, and it takes a lot of time to. And even then, because they're not Nicaraguan citizens, so who's watching this stuff? And I know they've been having a lot of issues with like um, civil wars right now in Nicaragua. Right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of. I've heard a lot of people having issues getting the tobacco to the shores, and
Well, like Caldwell, I guess his whole there. I saw when I was out in Washington, and I bought a couple Caldwell. They said if you like the Caldwell stuff, Blind Man's Bluff and stuff, buy them because his place burned down, and you won't be able to get any for a little while.
yeah, but is that accidental or did somebody burn it down?
I don't know. Don't
You
know.
know, it could be, it could be a lot. To think every country has problems, right? So in this case, if there's problems going on over Nicaragua, and it's definitely not like a first world country, if there's problems going on over there, you know, things could go bad real quick. And if you
Where do you
invest,
where do you think the best cigars are coming in the world are coming out of? Like, what do you are you a I
I
like
think I think
Nicaraguan
that's more
Honduras.
than a country issue because I think a country is that's like saying, who makes the best car? Well, are you talking about like a German Volkswagen, or are you talking about like, you
Well, I
know,
mean, like
or
I
like
think like
high
well
end,
everybody
you know?
like well like so Cubans so okay we'll take Cubans, right? Cubans are held such a high standard, right? And I've had some Cubans for a while. I've had Cubans
Yeah,
before.
but they're overpriced, in my opinion, overrated for the most part for what you're
Yeah,
getting. Like
right,
they make some great cigars, but they shouldn't be, $2,000 a box, and
right,
so
right, right. And in my opinion, I think my favorite area is Honduran and Nicaraguan. And to be honest, all the best cigar makers in Cuba, that's where they kind of went, you know.
what to wear.
Honduras and Nicaragua is where they kind of all, you know, have established homes and stuff.
You know, to me, once again, I think for me it would be a brand issue because different brands have different power and different selection. So I mean, if you're talking about Dominican stuff, the best stuff is Dominican overall. You have the Fuentes, you got uh, David Offs, but then you also have General's a massive giant, and General has a lot of tobacco in.
Hey, if you ever cruise YouTube, I'll see if I can find it and send you the link. But there was like this documentary that was made years ago. I think it's called the Rolling of the Leaf or something
No, we
about
watched that. That was a good
that was a
documentary.
good doc. Look, I watched that like about a month ago, and I found it and it popped up, and I'm like, oh, that was interesting. That was really informative.
Yeah. Oh, and it was So for me, I don't have a specific because here's the thing too. Most people aren't making puros, so you can't really say Nicaragua or Dominican. That's where it's at because meaning, let's for example, let's say Nicaraguan. Most padrones aren't using Nicaraguan wrappers. I mean,
Right.
uh, back in the day, I heard it was Mexican San Andreas, and then I don't know. Then you look at uh, let's say Drew Estate with Liga Bovada #9, their best cigar. That's not using a Nicaraguan wrapper. That's using Connecticut broadleaf. So a lot of cigars are even just because they're made in Nicaragua or made in Dominican, they're using tobacco from Ecuador,
Yep.
Cameroon tobacco from Africa. So it's a more complex issue. Um, and that's why I say the brand because the fermentation and the quality control construction is a huge issue, and that could be from factory to factory. I've smoked shit cigars from the Dominican Republic. I've smoked shit cigars from Nicaragua. So that goes down to me that the actual company and the brand and the quality control. And I smoke shit cigars from a brand that I love. Meaning, like you could take, let's say, any brand, Fuente, Plasencia, whatever. But there's cigars I love, and
Like
then
Ashton, one of my local stores, they have what they call them their golf sticks. There's no wrapper on them. There's no band. They're just they're just cellophane. They're $4 a stick, and they've got a Maduro, and then they've got, and I don't even know what the other one is, but it's like a little bit lighter than the Maduro, and I'm not sure what the leaf I guess would be, but they're like $4, and it's what they teach their rollers on, and it's just they're amazing. And every time I go there, I always buy two or three because they're cheap. And for an Ashton, they're just like wow, they're great cigars for four, and they're they're well underpriced for a $4 cigar with the quality that's in there.
have you ever had the Davidoff 3x3s?
I've only had probably two Davidoffs in my life.
No, this is the three. I'm talking about low end cigar price wise. The 3x3 is their practice cigar, and
Is
it's
it?
not Davidoff. It is, but there's no band, and it just comes in a metal tube. If you're ever on CBIN, buy it. They come in only 9 packs. Buy a 9 pack. That's why it's called 3x3, and there's 9 of them, and you can get 9 packs for like $30 of Corona or Robusto, and it's just a great shade grown wrap. But they're really good cigars. Um, they might taste a little young, but the main thing is there's no grade selection. It's just they give them the tobacco, they practice on these cigars, and I highly recommend them because it is Davidoff tobacco.
I
Uh,
had the Chill and Moose. That's a good cigar.
I haven't had that. I think like almost 7 or 8 years. It's been a long time, so I'd have to try it again. Um, but yeah, they do sell. I think the Chill and Moose is actually under Foundry Cigars, which is actually owned by General Cigars.
You know what? You know what? One cigar brand that I will always buy, and I don't know why. Um, CAO. CAO. I have this weird obsession with. I will buy two of every, especially if it's a new one. The Flathead. I love the Flathead. That's a great cigar. I love that's a great box press. But I will buy any CAO like the CAO, and I remember you said, "Oh, the Session was a great cigar." And like the first time I had it, didn't like it. Second time, it was a great cigar.
Yeah,
But
Session. And I don't, you know what's weird? I don't see that much anymore. I think what it is when you have brands like CO makes a lot of every year some new brand blends, right?
yep,
And the guy from Gurkha, who's a smart guy, Juan Lopez, who helped bring the brand out of the dark side of just internet only bullshit and making more what's it called, brick and mortar cigars that aren't 20 cigars for 19.99, bullshit sticks. Um,
right.
he said, he goes, we can, he goes, I want to make less cigars as far as brands, within their brands, because he goes, humidors aren't getting any bigger, and cigar shops, they only, let's say they carry 3 of your cigars or 5 or maybe 10 at best. He goes, so they don't have that much more room. So it's the same thing with the CEO. CEO makes so many different cigars, and every year come out new ones. But a cigar shop couldn't carry all 20, 30. I don't know. How many cigars does CEO make? A lot. Different stuff. Let's say you have all the flatheads. There's a lot of flatheads. Did we lose you? Did we lose connection? Or are you sleeping? Oh, did they get you? Did, did he get? Did you get the stroke? What happened, my man? Did you have a heart attack? Did he get him? No, no, you're frozen. Are you sleeping? Or, oh, they got him. Did you, bro? Did you die suddenly? What happened, bro? What happened, my man? Are you all right? Did he die? What okay, okay, hold on. Did they get him? What happened? They shit. I said to watch the movie died suddenly. He went to sleep. Rest in peace. Well, that was an exciting way to end the show, guys. and that's that. It is what it is. Did Sack get him? I think Sack showed up. Sack, are you in Nebraska? Sack. 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 What happened? My man's gone. Are you still alive? What happened, bro?
I don't know. It just said reconnecting, and then it kicked me out.
Bro, I thought you died suddenly, man. Because it was just your face like this. Look, it's like, oh, it got
No,
him.
but no, CAO is kind of. I don't care what they are. I will probably buy it. But one of the ones I had was the Consigliere, which is the cigar apparently that they made for James Gandolfini. And I'll tell you what, that
Oh,
I
but you know the
love
history.
that cigar.
The original one had the Soprano stuff on it, and then once they lost the licensing, they kept the same look, but it wasn't. They couldn't use any Sopranos licensing anymore. So
Oh,
so, and I believe the blend changed. So the newer one is still good. I really enjoyed it, but believe it or not, the older one has become a collector's edition, and actually the values of the older one it went up a lot. I don't know if you ever yeah, he said couldn't pay the royalties. It probably was a lot.
I'm
So
sure.
if did you have the original or did you have the new one?
I had the new one. I would love to try to find an original if I could find
Yeah,
one.
bro. I think you got it would be astronomical in price because it's collector edition. Because
Oh yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
yeah, but yeah, no, that is a good stick. I like that one. I like the MX2. Did you ever have that?
Okay, so my buddy at work, I got him back into cigars, and he had a box that his father in law had given when he got out of the Marines in California, and there was like 10 cigars in there, and so when I got him back into cigars, he's like, "Well, how do I have all these cigars? How do I rehydrate them?" And I was like, "Here, I gave him a Bovita, throw that in there, and so about a year later, I was over at his house, and we were smoking. I was like, "All right, I'm always buying you sticks. Give me a stick." And so that MX2. Oh my god, that's probably the best cigar I think I've ever had. That was so good.
Oh, you had a deep connection with it. I found that to be a good cigar, man. I like the MX2. I wasn't crazy about the BX3. I know a lot of guys might like them, and a gentleman here said he likes them, but I didn't. I didn't. I'd have to try it again. But to me, the BX3 was too much Brazilian. I like Brazilian tobacco, but not at that massive level. If you use a lot, Brazilian tobacco is very dark and damp, like that
Yeah.
kind of. And if you go so much, I like it as a wrapper, but or in the filler like one leaf. But if you go like all fillers Brazilian, it gets a little. To me, it gets too much. I'd rather have the Basin over the BX3. You like the Basin?
I don't know if I've had that one.
The Basin, that's very popular. Yeah, if you're into CEOs, you should try the Basin. Is I'm not gonna
Is
say
that
it's
the Amazon one?
yeah,
I
any of those.
just got two of those. I just had to go up to Omaha, Nebraska, which is about 60 miles away. I just had to go up there and get two of those because everybody said they're so good.
Yeah, I think Sacco tried the one that he enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure he did. It was that one. But within the Basin over the years, I thought there was like a couple of versions. So that was an interesting blend. It's different. Um, you also had the within another like more of their smaller production. Do you ever have any of the mortar coils or the firewalkers?
No.
Yeah,
The Firewalker. Was that the one with the big brand on it? The
the big
big.
gigantic, yeah. And
Yep, I've had that one. That's a good one.
yeah, that was like 6 and change by 54. It's a big boy stick.
Yeah. I prefer bigger sticks usually. I just
Okay.
like how they I like the bigger sticks, double coronas. I like the rococo sticks. Those are fat. I like the but I've started to branch out in the things I buy just to try. Like you said, sometimes you've had a stick before in one size and you're just like, "Oh, it's okay." And then I tried it another size and it was way better.
Yeah, because the size affects the blend. The size is the blend. So I can't say every cigar is the best in, let's say, Corona or Robusto, which way I'd rather have it. Sometimes it's like a sliding scale. Like here's the blend idea, but as you change the size, it might shift a little here or a little there, and then the way it hits you, then your perception and what you like. But yeah, so I'm guessing you like the Brasilia as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have that. I might crack one of those this weekend.
Yeah, the Brazilias when they came out originally, they were really popular because it was a good mid-tier price, and they were like $7, and it was a good dark Maduro cigar. And then
Did
now
you remember when I sent you cigars? Did
yeah,
you the Outlaw Tobacco? Do you remember having a couple of those I sent you?
it was a while. I don't remember the cigar
I
though.
might have to. I'm gonna have to send you some of them again. So Outlaw Tobacco, they're based down in Kansas City, and I think for the Midwest, they have probably the nicest selection that I've found in the Midwest, and that's like not going to like Denver or Chicago. And
Tobacco
they
is it
make their
that makes their own cigars too?
they don't make. I think somebody makes them for them, but they're called. But the brand, their sticks are just so well done. Um, and they've kind of got like the the two lounges are more like cowboy themed, and so
Interesting.
they're called like the outlaw, and then like the six shooter or the pale. They got like a pale rider or a pale face. I'll have to send you a couple, and next time I get down to Kansas City, and I'll grab some and but they're a good house brand that I really like.
Yeah, that was a while ago, so I can't recall. Um, I think I only had like one time, or I don't know if you give me one or two of them, but that was that's amazing about cigars. Like if time goes on, and even if let's say it's a cigar I tried and I liked it and I remember it, let's say it was 5 years ago, you might remember it, but you don't remember shit because until you have it again, like and it's fresh in your mind, you really could forget totally what the cigar. You know what I'm saying? Let's say even something like say Padron 26 Maduro, but if you haven't had it like in 6 months, you come back to it and you're like, oh, this is why I love it, even though you know you love it in your mind. But like when it hits you again, if you know when you in a way, it's good sometimes not having the cigar for a while because when you come back to it, you know, if you have the same cigar over and over again, sometimes you could get I don't use the word bored, but like just like with exercise, you have to spice it up to stimulate the muscles. If you do the same thing, it can almost keep on stimulating the same flavor notes, and you get used to it.
Right.
Which is why I know very few people in my life that only smoke. Meaning, Johnny Padrones only smoke the same cigar in the same size. And there's very few people I ever met that are like, this is it. Not just a brand. I mean, a blend. Like this one cigar is it. And I've known guys that did that for years in New York, which I find insane. But I'm happy for them that they can find one stick and go, that's it. Like for the rest of their life. That's pretty impressive, you
So
know,
when you were in New York, where were you getting your cigars from? Like, are there a lot of cigar places in New York? And
pretty much more than anywhere else. Long Island per square inch has got more cigar lounges and even more than cigar lounges, cigar shops, like grab and go. I can't, and I just went back a few months ago, and it's doubled from where it used to be. They are massively handing out cigar licenses, to because the state's so broke, because tobacco is a big taxed item. They are. I have never seen. I'm talking about like you could be at one cigar shop and look and see the next one. I couldn't
wow,
fucking believe how many fucking cigar shops there were in Suffolk County last
that's
time.
the only that's something I. This might sound kind of a little prejudiced, but like, so my wife is like, "Oh, honey, there's this new smoke shop opening up," and I was driving past it, and it's like vape, cigars, cigarettes, and I'm like, "Yep, not gonna go there." And that's just me because I'm like, I don't know how you're keeping your shit. If I'm gonna go to a cigar shop, it's just gonna be cigars for me. Is
No,
that
yeah,
like is it like that out there? Do they sell like everything in a
no,
smoke
no,
shop,
no.
or is it just
Cigar
cigars?
lounge is gonna be a lounge no matter where you go. They don't do that in New York, but there are some places that actually have in Long Island that have serious humidors, but also sell some vape and lottery tickets and beer and everything else. So, but there also are places that are strictly more of a vape and a marijuana shop, for that bullshit.
Right.
Um, and they'll have like one or two humidors. The benefits to some of those places is that, like, I found a guy by my daughter's house that he sells mostly that kind of stuff, like the vape stuff and the paraphernalia stuff because marijuana is legal now in New York. And but he had cigars, and I was like, his prices were actually really good. They were low, and he's like, oh yeah, everything here is buy one get one half off. So I was getting Monte Cristos for like $13, and the second one was like $6.50. Like at a lounge, like that's really cheap. So like, um, there's a massive Indian community in Long Island that pretty much owns all of the walk-in stores. The lounges, though, are not. Lounges are different, but they're getting into the lounge scene too, and their prices are ridiculously low. The only in the Indian shops are they doing like buy four get the fifth free. Buy one get the half off. Buy two get one free. Like no one else is doing that. I don't. I think it's because there's the volume, the amount of cigars they're selling, and or maybe they're refilling boxes with stuff from Pennsylvania and not paying tax. I don't know how they're getting away with it, but I can't believe some of the places. Whereas a regular lounge, it's like full price. And then you go to these walk-in places. The only downside of the walk-in places is they're generally too moist. So they're not. I wouldn't say grab and buy. I would buy, and let it sit out for a day or two. You gotta you gotta hold yourself accountable when you buy cigars at walk-in places and say they're probably going to be too moist. So you got to let them dry out. Because that's
Yep.
what a lot of people say. Oh, General cigars always have a tight drawer. Well, because they're generally the most popular cigars by volume. If you're buying them at the most popular walk-in places and they're over moist, then you know what I'm saying? No, you're gonna have more bad experiences. You know,
Right.
uh, whereas if you went and bought Padrones, they sell out so fast, they were there for like 2 weeks, so they're not gonna get too wet. So but if you're talking about cigars that are always there, like Punch or Opus, I'm sorry, Opus. My God, Freudian slip. I wish Opus was around at every lounge. Um, Punch or Macanudo that are just sitting there at a walk-in place, they're probably going to be too moist. And so you have to know your location. If you walk into a place and it smells very damp and it looks like the vegetable aisle with all the mist, um, you got to let the cigars dry out. And do you find that where you get cigars too wet out there or no?
No, no. The I would say Lincoln has two. Like you went to one of them. You went to one of the shops here. The other one is really good too. Then we have another one. I would say some of his stuff is a little not bad though.
Mm.
And then there's another one so we have probably four cigar lounges.
Okay.
Um, three of them are attached to a bar. One of them is just you could sit there and smoke, but they don't serve drinks. So
So it's not a massive. The places that were there were big, but overall, you don't have tons of places to go to.
no, there's four places really in Lincoln.
Bro, I can't stress it, bro. Just in Suffolk County, let alone Nassau County, you could be because Long Island pictures Long Island, but it's like a grid. You have the North Shore, the Middle, and the South Shore, and on all three, and in both counties, there's more lounges than you could imagine. I just can't because okay, Long Island, Suffolk County, and Nassau County combined has more people than the state of fucking Colorado in
Jesus.
two counties. So how many cigar shops do you think they're going to be, bro? Out of your fucking mind, a lot, and I would say easily 90% are run by the
So
Indians.
what? So what about the city and stuff? What does it start to look like in there?
I don't even fuck with the city because the prices are astronomical.
Are
And
they?
the only things I'd recommend the city, right, is like if you're going to like the Davidoff shop, but you're gonna drop money. But if you if you go in there, I'm gonna hang out because I'm okay. So instead of spending like 16, $17 on a Padron, it's gonna cost me 27. But I'm gonna hang out in the swankiest fucking joint you ever seen, the Davidoff Lounge in Brooklyn, and there's two in Manhattan on Sixth, and the other one by the Trade Center. Those lounges, bro, like you're in there and you're like, I'm not high class for this, but I'm gonna hang out, bro. Like, dude, people go there and drop money, man. And I've been to a lounge. The most high end lounge I've been to was called the Barclay Rex. Now they have a humidor downstairs and a lounge to hang out. But upstairs is the VIP. And I was driving and being like kind of like a bodyguard for my friend who's a millionaire. And because dude, we went to all three. That I'll tell you a little quick story. The greatest cigar day I had in my life was with the mayor, and he's like, I need you tomorrow. I'll pay you for the whole day. You eat with me, whatever I eat. You'll smoke with me, whatever I smoke, and we'll hang out and have a great day. But I don't. He doesn't drive because he was in an accident at work, and that's why he got a huge lawsuit, millions of dollars. But he's on a lot of medication, and his vision's not that good. So he got a lot of money, but and he can't fight anymore. So if he's gonna go to the city and spend like 15 grand in cigars, he wanted like a big guy to carry the boxes. So first we go to um, a, a, a Long Island lounge. I picked him up there, We smoke like a Davidoff. Then we drive to Brooklyn Davidoff, and we're smoking the Brooklyn Davidoff cigars that they only sell at the Davidoff shops out there. So it's like the Davidoff Lounge has their own Davidoff cigar, which was ridiculous. Then we go to and there he buys a bunch. I'm talking about, bro. They pulled out a shopping cart, and he's buying like,
Jeez.
bro, $3 a shopping cart, and he's just pointing, and the manager just okay, okay. The manager's putting the box in the shopping cart, you know? And then like some of them we put in his humidor there, because at each place he has his own private humidor, but like a double one. They give him the biggest one, and like he just has stockpiles in different boroughs of the city.
All across the
And
city.
then we grab an Uber. We leave my car there. He's like, no, you got parking. We'll grab an Uber. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, okay, I got it. And like a Lincoln Navigator pulled up. I'm like, what's this? He goes, oh, if I'm getting Uber, I get the better one. I'm like, okay. So he drops like $200 to get a Lincoln Navigator. Now we go to the Davidoff in Manhattan on 6. Once again, Tito, I call him the mayor. Okay, they get the shopping cart, bunch of stuff there. And just when I'm watching the guy on the cash register ringing everything up, I'm just sweating. But like, cause I'm thinking like, I got to pay for it. Like, we do that, and we smoke like ridiculous cigars there, like and like that kind of stuff. And then we go to the other Davidoff stop. We do the same thing, same thing. So in one day, it was just in my mind was like, I can't believe people have this lifestyle. Then we go to the Barclay Rex, and while we're up there, it was these high-end lawyers that were handing out Partagas Lusitanias that they had saved for 5 years, and they gave me one. He's like, "Yeah, I bought this box. I've been saving for 5 years." Oh yeah, he gave me the first one, and I'm talking to this guy from the stock exchange that used to ring the bell, and he's talking about his divorce that cost him $30 million, and I'm like, yeah, I have nothing in common with you, great. And so I was, and then the mayor hands out the unicorn, the Jewish state unicorn, the $100 cigars. It's the best one Steve Sock
Never
ever
heard
heard.
of that.
Oh, the unicorn, look it up. And he hands out to everyone. He hands out 6. And he just hit everyone in the room. You get a unicorn. You get. There was a guy just sitting next to me that like wasn't even part of our group, and he handed him a unicorn too. Like he's like, oh yeah, everyone's getting a unicorn. Like, all right, and like that was just in his private attaché bag. He has a bag called the football. Like the guy next to the president has the bag with
Right.
all the codes. He always travels what's called the football. And he always has about $2,000 worth of cigars on him anywhere he goes, in case we have we need he can't get to his stash. And while we're there, who has humidors at the Barclay Rex? President Bush, like those kind of people, like like these kind of level people. You see their name on the humidors, like this is like we had to get buzzed in. They had security there. They had a pretty girl. We walk up there, and this is the kind of place that day. By the time I went home, I just couldn't believe what just happened. That it was a full like 12-hour day going to all 5 of those different cigar shops, and I have never seen a more crazy day as far as hanging out with someone in that kind of level. And I'll never know that kind of level, but God bless. But it just was. Anyways, that was my greatest cigar day. Like just like the amount of cigars I smoked and the places we went out to eat was astronomical. Um, yeah, it was. He dropped like probably almost 20 grand that day.
Jeez. That's the life.
Well, God bless, right? God bless. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just happy to witness it. Like, man, I'm glad someone's living something like that. You know what I'm saying? Though, like, I was just happy being his driver. And whatever he got, he'd give me a taste. He'd take some. In each place, he had bottles of scotch. You know what I'm saying? Though, like in his humidor, like, oh, let's have a drink. Oh yeah, I keep my own private stash over here. Like just like it was just such a great moment. It was like, oh, could you drive me tomorrow? You think, like, okay, you pay me to drive $200 to drive for the day. No, like I wasn't waiting in the car, like just chilling out. No, I was like, I was, his dude. That day was. I'll never recreate that one day like that ever again. Like that was just, especially being on the house. Like that was just,
So can anybody go into those places, the high end ones?
the Barclay Rex, yes, but you're not getting upstairs.
Right.
That's members only. The Davidoff stores you can, but you're gonna buy cigars. You can't
Right.
just go in and hang out. You got to buy a stick, And once you buy that stick, once you're done, like you're not just still hanging out, like because they're pretty crowded. So like if you keep buying sticks, sure you can hang out. Well, it's pretty interesting that in New York City there's still places you could smoke inside, which is pretty rare, because
I
I
would
know that.
think that's honestly because of the culture of cigars in New York City. Cigars and money, kind of tend to go together. So that's probably why.
Yeah, because there's like no smoking everywhere, but for if you got money like that, we're gonna bend the rules.
Right.
But yeah, I'm trying to think what was my favorite lounge. The one at the Trade Center, it was like it felt like you were. It was modern. If modern was in the 1960s, it felt like the inside of like a Star Trek, um, themed. I can't explain. It was like futuristic, but from the 60s. If that makes any sense, it was a really
Right.
interesting, weird lounge. It was really cool. The one on Six was very posh, elegant, gigantic glass doors, really nice leather chairs, the best humidification, but you couldn't even see the smoke. Like the amount of air pressure sucking out of there. There was like 20 guys smoking cigars. Like you couldn't even smell it. Like they had the best air filtration on David on Six. The
Oh wow.
Brooklyn one was a little more low key. That was the newest one though. But it just wasn't. It felt like more like new money. It wasn't like a posh location. It felt like more like it was like a regular guy's David Lounge, if that makes any sense. But it was right across the street from Peter Luger's Steakhouse, so you could go drop $500 for lunch at Peter Luger's, and then
Is Peter Luger's any good?
from what I hear, it's one of the best steak.
Have
Steak.
you never had it?
I never met Peter Luger's. Um, I couldn't justify dropping that kind of money I could go to a steak dinner, and have a great time for myself, and maybe drop $80, $100 for one person. But Peter Luger's, you're gonna do Peter Luger's. You could easily drop 250 a person with drinks. You could. I could
Yeah.
do it if I wanted to, but I don't need to. I'm not on that level where I could say I could do it. And then
One thing that see, so you're Italian, and the one thing I really love about the mob movies is and the Italian in general is the food.
yeah,
They're so family oriented, and the food that they all eat, like that to me, oh man, that if I could find somebody here in Lincoln who's like legitimate Italian and would feed me, I'd be
yeah,
in heaven.
bro. I'm out here in Colorado, and there's money out here, and there's people here. It's like a big, small state in a way. There's no good Italian food like that. When you go to New York City and Long Island, the amount of Italian culture and Italian food there is astronomical. Some of my favorite Italian restaurants, like one's in Smithtown, and and the owner there like comes out and talks to you like before you order, lets you know what's his freshest stuff. He brings it out himself. But like we went there, we had a big family party there, maybe like 12 people, and they dropped about $1,200. And my dad and my uncle, they fought over and they ended up splitting the check. And I was just happy I wasn't splitting the check. It felt like it's a crap. Mr. Moltisanti's like, remember he's like, you said champagne, Cristal to those girls over there and lobster. Remember, it's remember the episode when they hit the guy with the brick in the back of the head? Did you watch that one? No, no. Yeah, dude, yeah, they got some Italian restaurants you could drop money, but I'm just as happy if I go to a pizzeria and drop $10 and get two slices and a Coke. The pizza in New York is like you're not gonna get. People think there's pizza in other places beside New York and Long Island. There's not. You could lie to yourself and say, "Oh yeah, there's pizza here." There's round bread with cheese. It's not the same.
Right. For me though, I want to experience someday not restaurant Italian. Like I want to go to somebody's grandma's house and eat with them, and that's like kind of a weird obsession I have. That's I want to go eat with an Italian family on their Sunday dinner and eat like that with the family one day, and just because there's a difference between like restaurant Italian food and then what is at grandma's house.
Oh, I agree with you. Like I grew up, my family was all born in Italy, and like my grandmother was an amazing Italian cook, and then my aunt was even better because my aunt perfected my grandma. My grandma grew up more in poverty her whole life, so her food was great, but it was more simplistic and more of a lower class of Italian food. I mean that in a good way. I'm saying like she
Right.
cooked more simplistic. Like she wasn't splurging. It was like making something great out of like very low cost items. My aunt, she grew up in America, even though she was born in Italy, but she came in when she was 7. And my aunt like always had money. When she grew up, she was always dating mob guys, like legit mob guys. Okay. Like, and
Wasn't your dad somewhat connected?
yeah, my grandfather totally connected. He worked for the Gambinos in the cement business. My father did too when he was young, but he got out of that and he went into Long Island and he became an electrician, which that is mobbed up. But and my uncle and my father actually had their own electrical business, and to get in the union, what happened was the mob, they sent two guys to beat the shit out of my uncle at a supply yard because my uncle was non-union and he was taking a lot of work out of Long Island, New York City. And in a way, it's all grid. All the territories are run by the mob, or the union, but the unions are all backed by the mob, and more so back then. So my uncle had a company, and they sent two guys to beat the shit out of him at a supply yard because he's taking a lot of work, and they don't care about small jobs, but they were taking some bigger jobs, and in a way, jobs that the union would have bid on and got. And he was underbidding them because he was a smaller shop and he didn't care about making less profit because he didn't have to, pay union wages. Even though it was just him, my father, maybe a helper, but they were doing some bigger work. Anyways, these guys came to beat the shit out of my uncle, and he started running because he said these two guys were goons, these big dudes. And he started running, and then he was a tough guy, Vietnam vet, but maybe like 170-pound guy, very very strong, but like these guys, they said like 200-300-pound guys, just to crush him. So he's running, and then he stopped. He's like, "Fuck this!" He goes, "All right, look, I know you're gonna kick my ass, but I'm gonna get someone's ear, someone's nose. I'm gonna get a piece of you. Come on, fucking kill me." And then they stopped. All right, all right. Well, we just want to have a sit down. So they had a sit down with these union mob guys, and they're like, "Listen, look, we'll make a deal. You're taking a lot of work from us. We'll give all your guys A union cards. They want to do apprenticeship. Make pay this entry fee, get into the union, and at least do like half of your work with the union, other half non-union. We'll turn the other way. That kind of deal." And so they did that, and that's how my father became a union member. And then my uncle's business went out of business like a few years later. He was doing very well, but his bookie, the guy that was running the books, handling all the money, he was buying material on credit, then started his own company and using that material and bidding on jobs, but then doing the jobs under his own company. And so eventually, my uncle went bankrupt because all of a sudden he got all these letters. You got to pay on your credit, for this material. And he's like, "What do you mean? We've been paying him. My guy handling the books. The guy handling the books, he swindled him. You know what I'm saying, though?" And this
Yeah.
happened over the course of a year, but it was just too much money where my uncle went heads up and he went bankrupt. So at that point, because my father was a union member and he wasn't the owner, my father just went back to the union and they just put him in another shop. You know what I'm saying, though? Where my uncle, the company was in his name, and so that hurt his credit. He got bankrupt, and he was approached by one of the guys he was connected with, and they were gonna, offering, a long term vacation for that guy. And my uncle said, "No." He said, "The guy fucked me," but he goes, "I don't want that on my hands." And it's just a pretty funny story. That guy had no idea how close that guy could go to Disney World. You know what I'm saying? No, that guy, like that guy fucked up. Like, I'm saying, that guy fucked up. And he's lucky my uncle, even though he was connected, he was like a friend of ours. He wasn't in it, but he was around those guys. And
Right.
long story short, that's the same uncle that he used to hang out at a bar when he was flying high with his company, and the bar was called Mario's, and it was a mob hangout. And there was this guy who was this big fucking scary guy who wasn't Italian, but he would be at the bar. He would see him there a lot, and he would have meetings there with these mob guys he knew. And so my uncle knew these guys, and one day he sent the guy a drink, whatever, and first they had words that the guy was like an asshole first, and then he just kind of like, whatever. But and then before you know it, they start becoming drinking buddies. It was Kuklinski, the Iceman.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah, bro.
Fuck.
Like, he didn't know that was the Iceman at the moment, but then later on, when the guy got pinched and he's on the news and everything, he's like, "Fuck me."
Oh, that's my drinking buddy.
Yes, bro. Like imagine you
All right,
drinking.
so you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
This I don't know them very much anymore. They probably wouldn't remember me, but we had a couple who went to a church that my mom was friends with before she passed away when I was a younger kid,
Mm.
and their son was a assistant. He was like Giuliani's right hand man,
Mm.
and when Giuliani was taking down the mob, and his son would when his son came home at one point, he still he has for the rest of his life, apparently he'll have U.S. Marshal protection his whole life.
Mm.
And his son, they came, I guess his son and his family came home for Christmas one year, and his his bodyguards were there, and they the whole time they would not go inside the house. They sat out in the suburban. There was two Suburbans. They had to go to the bathroom. They'd go up the street to the gas station, and they literally just sat out in their park in their front of their house, uh, all of Christmas and the next day, and then they took them back to the airport. And he's like, it was the weirdest thing ever having armed security for my son, but he's like, his son is a lawyer, and he said
Probably got a
he's
lot,
super.
you know.
Yeah, it's that's just crazy. He was because I was reading some of the we were at their house one time and he told me that story. As I was reading a book about the mob. He's like, you know what my son did, right? And I'm like, no. Well, he helped Giuliani take down the mob, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, Giuliani really cracked down on that, and in a way, I can say that he did help clean up New York City, especially with like the prostitution and like 42nd Street and all the hookers hanging out and all the seedy like X-rated movie houses and those kind of places. He did. The problem was though they got rid of the mob, and it just got replaced with lower level shit. That at least the mob, when it came to neighborhoods, like yeah, they had their bookies and their gambling joints and their prostitution joints, but they had no trouble on the street. They did not want heat on the street, and they didn't cause any trouble with the police because they had like an agreement. You know what I'm saying though? Once the
right.
mob left, the regular gangs took over all
Well,
this
it's
shit.
like there's in oh, what's that? What was that movie with the cartel that they made like two? They made two of them with Josh Brolin.
Yes,
Um, Sicario. So the second one, there's a he Josh Brolin has a line in there, and he's like, well, you don't go after basically you don't go after El Chapo because you'll splinter it and it'll just get worse.
yeah,
And you cut the head off the snake and then 10 more form, right?
yeah,
And then you end up the top the top guys control everything enough to where nobody's stepping out of line too much.
yeah. They want everything almost like as normal as there's always gonna be some depravity in life, but like I said, they want to control. There's always gonna be crime, but
Right.
controlled crime is better. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because those guys don't want crazy shit happening, or a nightclub getting blasted up, or they don't want that shit happening. You know what I'm saying though? If guys with the mob they take care of people, it's for the most part you just don't you won't see that guy no more, and that's it. You know what I'm saying though? But that's my opinion, a lesser of two evils than
Yep.
the way it is now. New York City's not safer now.
No.
It's the crime and the gangs is astronomical. Uh,
So did you ever meet anybody famous?
as far as what family mob guys,
Yeah.
Uh, well, I told you we had Galante's son. Do you know who Galante is?
Yep. Yep.
So Galante was the mob boss who got whacked with a cigar in his mouth, and
Yep.
his son lived in my house, in my basement,
Wow.
with his family, and he told me he sold T-shirts for Jesus, and I didn't believe him. He said, "Yeah, I sell T-shirts." And I'm like, oh. He said, "I sell them for the church, for God." I'm like, oh, sure. So the church we went to, right, was an Italian guy, and he changed his name. When he became a pastor. He changed his name to sound less Italian. The church was an ex nightclub. It was a discotheque from the 70s and the early 80s, and somebody got whacked in there, and so they had issues with the liquor license. But the story he told was, I told these mob guys, God told me to make this place a church, and they gave me an offer, and I came back with money, and now it's my church. I don't think that's the way it went down, because the way the church was run, there would always be guys that were running the books in the church that were mob guys, but they didn't say they were mob guys. Like there was this guy Frankie the Butcher, who was like Joe Pesci, but he was in charge of the tithes and offerings. And but he'd be like on Sunday, he'd be like, God told me, I'm telling you right now, God told me right now that this church needs this check right now. He would just get up and be like, I'm gonna give 20 grand right now to the church, and God bless, forget about it. And everyone would be like, oh yeah, yeah, forget. And that doesn't happen. And Frankie was a butcher. He was a union butcher at Pathmark, but Frankie had a tremendous house. He always had a brand new Eldorado, two-door black Eldorado, and he literally looked exactly same height, looked exactly like Joe Pesci. and he ran the books. He also had this ex-professional boxer that would also help run the books. His name was Eddie, and he was a Hispanic guy. And but this guy Eddie was no one to fuck with. He was, you could tell he was an ex-street guy. And you remember the guy Dennis Tenorino?
Nope,
Dennis
don't.
Tenorino, bodybuilder who won like Mr. Olympia. He was massive. And but before he became Mr. Olympia, he was a mob enforcer back in the day in the 70s. And then in the 80s, he ended up getting caught running a prostitution ring in LA with like for like high end like supermodel hookers, you know what I'm saying? Those kind of level girls. And one of his girls died, and supposedly he might have killed her, whatever, right? He went to prison for supposedly like a year, and the case got thrown out, and then he became a preacher. Okay, so you have an ex bodybuilder, mob enforcer preacher, and he would come to our church all the time, and he'd be up there and be like, "Hey, let me tell you something, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was in the street, I've been stabbed, I've been shot, but let me tell you something right now. Now I'm crucified with Jesus Christ, and I'm up here right now, I'm telling you right now, and you're gonna give this money to the church." And this guy is just this tremendous guy, and he was like one of the guys who come in and preach. And so there was just a lot of mob connections to that church. And the house I grew up in, my family, my father bought that house from the pastor. Like it was his old house, and we bought it from him. And that was another connection right there. It's like, like, and that old neighborhood. I used to talk to this Vietnam vet down the street, and he knew that pastor before he became pastor. He's like, he ain't no pastor. He said that guy's in the mob. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I knew that guy. He used to be a plumbing inspector for the city of New York, but he never worked. He was just smoking cigars, driving around his Cadillac, and he'd brag about how he's not going to work it one day. He's gonna say he's start a church and not pay taxes and become a preacher and whatever. And he goes, and he did. He started out of your house, and then he got more money, and he bought the discotheque. He bought the nightclub. It was called Faces, and then whatever. The story just went from there to there. So like,
Huh.
It was one of those kind of churches. Like the person that gave the most money would get like their own made man parking spot. If you gave the most money that month, they put your name on a parking spot, and every month they would change names. Whoever gave the most money, they'd make a little name placard, and you get the closest spot to park next to God. And like, I mean, that's just look at them up. Oh, your envelope's a little light, and they would change your name. Whoever gave more money that month, you got your name where you parked. You know, which sounds legitimate. I think there's worse ways to grow up. You know, it was a good way to grow up. No one was doing drugs. Everyone was staying in line. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like so that was that church mobbed up. I can't stress it enough. I can't. How could it not be? Well, who changes their name? Who has ex mob enforcers as a preacher? You know what I'm saying though, and and then Frankie the Butcher running the books. But as far as other people I met, my aunt had a restaurant and it was a nightclub as well. And I was young, so I don't know what their names were, but there was always mob guys hanging out there because my aunt used to date mob guys and she knew a lot of them. And you remember the movie with Al Pacino, Donnie Brasco? That's another great mob movie. Donnie Brasco.
Great mob movie.
Okay, that's one of the greatest. How do people underlook that one? Remember Lefty's son, the drug addict?
Yeah.
Lefty's son in real life wanted to marry my Aunt Rita.
Oh, really?
They lived in the same neighborhood. And my aunt would say, whenever Lefty would see my father, her brother, or my aunt, Lefty would tip his hat because my grandfather worked for the Gambinos in the mob, in the cement business. And so he'd always say, "Oh, good morning, how you doing?" So she knew Lefty, but Lefty's son wanted to marry my aunt. And he would say, "Oh, Rita, marry me, marry me." And she would say, "You're a fucking drug addict. I'm not gonna marry." And sure, that kid, remember, he overdosed in the movie. He really was a drug addict. And so,
Oh, wow.
it's just funny, because I remember one day I came home and I was telling my Aunt Rita at her house having dinner about this movie Donnie Brasco, and she's like, "Oh, what was it about?" "Oh, this guy Lefty Ruggiero." She's like, "Lefty fucking Ruggiero." She's like, "I knew Lefty. His son was a fucking drug addict." I'm like, "I didn't even get that part of the movie. I was gonna tell you about the movie." She's like, that son of a bitch wanted to marry me. He was a fucking junkie. You know what I'm saying? No, and my aunt used to date that guy, Dennis Tenorino. She dated him too. The mob enforcer. She's like, yeah, I wanted a couple dates. But she goes, the guy looked like a gigantic animal. He was like, 350-pound, Olympic bodybuilder, a mob enforcer. And we go out to a restaurant, and she said he ate like, I don't know how many dozens of fucking clams, like, a couple of hundred clams, in one sitting. And she goes, I can't date a guy like this. I mean, look up Dennis Tenorino in his prime. This dude was a monster, like Lou Ferrigno. You know what I'm saying though? And I'm not sure bigger. to win Mr. Olympia, you got to be big, right? Because
Right.
that's like, you know, and so yeah, I mean, he ended up dying. But here's the crazy thing: when Dennis Torino died, look up Dennis Torino in the White House. Somehow he died before Trump became president, but somehow someone named Dennis Tenorino still visited the White House when Trump was president several times. And it makes me wonder, like it was in the law that Dennis Torino came to visit Trump. And I was like, well, hold up, maybe he didn't die. Maybe this dude went to like witness protection. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? No, like, because I remember my sister.
One of the greatest pictures I think I ever saw of Trump was, and so it was a picture, and it had Trump as he was sitting there in the Oval Office, had Vince McMahon, it had Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Linda McMahon, and then it has a picture of Stone Cold, and it's like when Stone Cold has stunned every person standing in the Oval Office.
Dude, that whole era was such. I think he's coming back next year in 24.
I think he's gonna try. I personally don't want him to. I think his time is done. I want to see Ron DeSantis. I
DeSantis.
think Ron DeSantis, everything he did in Florida through COVID, the fact he won Miami-Dade County. The Democrats are leaving, like the Democrat operatives who work for the Democrats are leaving Miami-Dade County because he won that by such massive margins that it's not competitive for
Well,
them
he's cleaned
anymore.
up Florida and the education system. Like he cleaned that up as
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
And
I think,
he
I
wasn't.
think, I think he, I think I want him to run. I, I do somewhat agree. It, I don't want him to necessarily leave Florida, but I think Ron DeSantis would be an amazing president. And the worst thing you can do in politics is miss your because you only got really one shot to win. I
Well,
mean,
either or DeSantis or Trump will be better than what we got now.
oh yeah.
I can't stress that enough. You
But
know.
at the same time, too, I do also agree. I think Joe Biden's too old, and I think Trump will be way too old. And Trump is winning. Trump wants to run because he can't stand losing, but that's a fact in life. You can't always win. And I
Well,
think
what about a Trump DeSantis ticket, and then after one more term, then DeSantis runs, and we could have maybe 12 years of Republicans.
uh, Trump would never. I don't see Trump ever getting with somebody who he sees as a threat. And I think he considers Ron a threat to him politically, and I don't think he would do that. I think if you're going to see Trump run again, I think the best thing Trump could do would be would honestly be to pick a female, and I would say he would probably need to pick Nikki Haley. But from what I was reading today, she's probably going to announce that she's going to run already.
Who's Nikki Haley? I don't know her.
She was the governor of, I believe, South Carolina, and then he appointed her to the U. She was the ambassador to UN. She's an Indian American, first generation American, um, beautiful woman, family. She's very good.
Interesting. I'll be interested to see nonetheless. I mean, we can't get any worse over here, though. I mean, we literally have China giving out, hot air balloon tours over Montana. Uh, there you go. And over here, dude, I mean, the only thing left to try do another one. If you're China right now, I mean,
Well, they
God
say
bless.
there's another one over Latin America right now too.
There you go, dude.
So
I think the Chinese are. I'm not talking about Chinese Americans. I'm talking about the Chinese operatives. I think they're already here because did you hear about they're finding all these illegal police stations in America where they're there to watch the Chinese people from the Chinese government. Have you heard about this?
no,
Like China's actually setting up. Look it up. Like they're setting up Chinese police stations in America. And on top of that, honestly, dude, like you, I always thought this, bro. Every corner in America, no matter where you go, is a Chinese massage parlor, and I always wonder, like, is this really a setup by
you
the
know
Chinese?
China owns massive amounts of land in America, right?
Oh, yeah, all around.
Yep, all over. They own massive amounts of ranch land all over America. I think that I don't think you should be able to own land if you're not an American citizen. Like I can't go to China and buy China land. Are you there? Yeah.
America. What's next? And have your own, it's like a war of attrition. Like, so in a way, China, in a way, like they're making more moves on us than what they were doing on them. You know, and
By far.
I fly some hot air balloons over there. Maybe we get a couple of.
Oh, guaranteed. They just shoot that shit down.
Yeah, well, right, but then it's like, what I'm saying? No, it's our system right now is so weak. The people that are in control right now, they're not even just ignorant. They hate America. They hate the Constitution. And so, you know what I'm saying? Though I would rather have an enemy from outside try to attack us, because at least you have an absolute enemy, than to have an enemy from within that are like, well, they're not that bad. No, they're bad.
Yeah.
They're bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd rather have a guy try to break in my door right now. You see right now, I would rather have somebody try to kick in my door than to be living with someone that will open the door for the criminal.
Right. Oh yeah. We're the last open for the when America falls, the rest of the world will descend into utter chaos.
Have to come on top, eventually. And so, like I said, it's by design. And you guys say, who benefits? Well, it's a mixture of China and Russia, both. Or, who knows? But it's kind of like they're both working against us, and but they're smart. They're working against us from within, because the Democratic Party is the Communist Party now. It's not even, they're not liberals, they're communists. But they're not even like, see, they're so stupid. It's like before communism hits, all these liberals that are communists thinking, oh, it's just gonna be this utopia, and this is why we need communism. If we fell, the first thing the Chinese Communist Party would do, these people that they think all these government programs and all this free shit, it's over.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're in for a real rude awakening. You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
And, and if we did get invaded, guess who would be protecting America? Allegedly, probably not the military, because we let balloons fly over. But guess what? All the conservative Americans that are pro-gun would stand up and protect America, and fight back against an invasion, while the Democrats would be like, what are you gonna do? Have, like, GI Jane, and like, some dude in like
I
a mini.
like that was a good movie.
But you get what I'm saying, though. What are you gonna have? Like, come on, bro. I mean, you know,
Right.
it's like, what are you gonna have, a battalion of HIV positive, snipers? Coming this summer, it's sniper AIDS. HIV positive. You know, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what, it's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I think we're so split right down the middle of people that hate this place and people that love this place, that they got to get to the point where, like, listen, if you hate this place, you should really leave. You got to go to
Well,
China.
that's what I don't get is they're like, oh, America is fascist, blah blah, and I'm like, have you ever been to a country that's actually fascist or communist? You know,
Yeah.
but
Well, here's the thing, bro. These people are in a rude awakening, because all these people that hate America, like for the most part, they're all like, like all these like fat women and everything. See if there's any fat woman in North Korea or China. They don't even have enough food to eat. Like you're gonna be real. They're gonna be for a real rude awakening. You send them to China, like they would starve to death. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
No,
yeah.
like they wouldn't. Even, they'd be in a real world of hurt. You know. And we used to be a country when I was growing up. I didn't know if my family or my neighbors were, Democrat, Republican, but I did know this: we all loved America, and we
Yep.
all pride in America. We all loved George Washington. We all loved, what I'm saying? Though Fourth of July, everyone.
Now it's racist if you fly a flag on 4th of July.
Yeah, yeah, bro. It's. Dude, I remember as a kid going to Kmart. You could buy a handgun at Kmart. There's not even Kmart's anymore, but you know what I'm saying? Though it was just like
Yep.
it's Sears hardware store. You could buy a pistol. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
we have our culture. And that's what going back to morality, with the pushing with all these Cardi B's and stuff like that. Nobody watching Cardi B knows the Constitution.
No.
Nobody watching Sam Smith dance with 100 naked men pissing in their mouths knows about their First or Second Amendment rights. They
Nope.
just go, well, you know what I'm saying? No, like, so it's like, and that's all by design.
Oh, 100%.
Go to China, you can't listen to that kind of music. You
Nope.
can't watch that kind of depravity. You know what I'm saying though? Um, it, and once again, we're being destroyed from within.
Yep.
But I think the lines in the sand, and what's ever happened has happened. And now I literally feel like the decision's already made, and we're just waiting. Well, are we gonna just self implode? And here's the thing: if we self implode, it's not gonna stop there, because it's kind of like once we self implode, then it's like who's coming? Is it gonna be
Yeah.
China? Is it gonna be fucking? Okay, I'll tell you what. I had this old history book from the 1800s. Do you know that even after we became America and we fought off the British, that in the 1800s, did you know, and in the late 1700s and the early 1800s, did you know that in upstate New York, the French Canadians, do you know multiple times, because we were still a new country, right? So we were still vulnerable, right? We had a lot of potential, but we were new, so we were very, like a young pup. We're very vulnerable. Did you know that in upstate New York, that the French Canadians came down several times and murdered, raped, and pillaged an entire city, Buffalo, or Albany, or Rochester? They come on down, take whatever they can take, take whatever woman they wanted to take, kill the men, steal whatever gold they can steal arms, and burn the city down. And this happened more than once. So what I'm saying is, no one's your friend when you're weak.
Nope.
People, men, because women don't understand that fact. Men only respect when people are strong. They fear that, and but once they're weak, it's like if I left my door open, like, hey, this is a weak opportunity. Let me go see. But maybe they don't know in here I'm armed. But you know what I'm saying though? Like they'll
Oh
take the.
yeah.
But if I have my door unlocked and I put a certain decoration outside, you'd be like, definitely we can steal from this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Though, you know what I'm saying though. So like the way we're at. So like I said, 200 years ago, even after we were a country, they don't. Why don't they teach that by anyone? Like that's why you need a strong military, not just for wars. You need them just to have a standing military and on the border
Well,
because
shit. Did you just see this? Did you see that? We told Britain that they can't even protect themselves right now, and it would take them 10 years to be able to defend themselves.
no, no,
They
no.
are apparently their army is so depleted and their military is so depleted, they can't protect themselves. The U.S. A U.S. general just told them that.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Well,
Well,
buddy, I think I'm gonna jump off here. I'm getting a little tired.
yeah, man, get some sleep, bro. It's getting late. I'm gonna go to bed too, man.
All right, man. We'll do it again.
Hey, bro, you stay fresh. Thanks for coming on, man. It
Thank
was
you for having me.
It was a great time tonight. Tonight I was just glad to get everyone get to know you and everything.
Yeah.
And definitely on the next not say exact, but I'm saying next time you're on, I'll have you with, like, with what I call the gauntlet, like where I have like 3 or 4 guys on a night, and and
Sounds good to me.
yeah, bro. I'll see you around, brother.
Yep. See you later, brother. Bye.
Take care, man. Good night. Good night. And everyone out there, I want everyone to stay fresh. Everyone, take it easy. Appreciate you coming down for the show, Gio. God bless you, Gio. Always the funniest guy in the room, Gio. And yeah, you can't trust Canadians. You can't trust Canadians. I don't trust Canadians. I don't trust Canadians at all. But anyways, you guys be good. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna relax. You stay fresh. You stay chill. No cigars in prison. Take it easy.